How's it going, folks? Welcome to another fun at-home table read. Tonight, we are actually going to be doing one of my favorite, underappreciated Sam Raimi films, Darkman. Uh, he wanted to make The Shadow. Studio said no, and he's like, fine, I'll make Darkman. But this movie is wild. The original cast, they had Liam Neeson and Frances McDormand. We got some, pretty equal talents, I think, coming into this one. So let's jump right into introducing ourselves. I'm Logan. I'm going to be doing action description.
I'm George. I'll be Peyton.
I'm Anne. I will be Julie.
Nicole, I'll be Strack.
I'm Travis, and I'm playing Durant.
Woo!
All right, away we go. Darkman, by Joshua and Daniel Golden, Sam and Ivan Raimi, and Chuck Ferrer. Fade in, white letters against a black background. Darkman. The letters blister, then crack. Interior pier building day. Bang. A shot cord as we cut from black to harshly top-lit close shot. A man is talking into a cellular phone. He's a paunchy but powerful black man, bald with gray fringe. His baldness makes him look muscular. He's a tough man whose life has been shaped by violence at the docks. His name is Eddie Black. In the distance, a foghorn moans. We're pulling back.
Yeah, because he's an asshole. Tell him no. Tell him no, too. Him. Tell fuck you. Yeah. Uh-huh.
The continuing pullback shows that we're inside a huge empty pier building. Black is leaning against the roof of his car, which is parked in the middle of a vast empty space. The room is lit by bare bulbs. Its furthest reaches falling into darkness.
No, I'll be a few minutes late here, or a few minutes here. Guy coming up thinks he's gonna muscle me out of my property. Doesn't matter. Just another tough guy. Yeah, okay.
Another hard-looking man is approaching. They're driving up. Black nods.
Got their pieces. We got a surprise for those fuckers.
Exterior wharf. We're tracking towards a chain-link fence, which is swinging open to admit two midnight blue Lincoln Continentals. The cars stop in the foreground, and 8 men get out, eerily backlit in the mist of the riverfront. Slow tracking shot. Robert G. Durant is a well-dressed and immaculately groomed man of 40. Randy Guzman wears a powder blue polyester leisure suit. His nose has been broken several times from his years in the Mexican Boxing League. He was almost a contender. Skip Natpig walks with a pronounced limp. Trumayne Johnson, MC Sam, is a large black man with a quiet, studied cool. Rick is a wiry 20-year-old who looks about in short, jerky motions. He huddles in behind the others. He is stylishly dressed with slick black hair. His protruding Adam's apple bobs as he swallows. Smiley wears a permanent psychotic smile. Pauly is middle-aged and balding. His spare tire hangs over the edge of his suit pants. He subdues a belch. He raises a bottle of Malox and slugs down 50 cents worth. A ring of white chalky fluid coats his lips. Corky Corcoran has a thatch of blonde hair. He spits out tobacco juice between his wide-spaced front teeth. They are approached by a group of 15 dock workers, blacks men, with massive shoulders and grain sack bellies. Looks like they just got off their shift, and now they're ready to kick some ass.
Okay, against the car. Against the car, ladies. You gotta stand for a search.
The 8 visitors assume the position, placing their hands on the roof of their car. The dock workers pat them down and haul off iron. Lots of it.
Bunch of cuties.
Put skirts on them. I'd marry one.
The other dock workers, hearty male laughter. The visitors bear up in silence. Interior pier building. Night. As the visitors are led in, the beams of the car headlights escorted by the dock workers. The dock workers take a position around Durant and his men. Black stands waiting for them. He eyes Skip, the limper.
Bum leg.
No leg.
I was engaged to a girl with a wooden leg once.
Skip brightens. Yeah? What happened?
Had to break it off.
The dock workers laugh. Black indulges his men's laughter, then cuts it.
Okay, let's cut the crap here. Durant, I just got 3 things to say to you. 1,
He holds up a chubby finger.
I ain't selling my property.
He flashes a second finger.
2, nobody muscles Edwina Black, especially a bunch of fucks.
He flashes a third finger.
Number 3, if you guys is unhappy with that, which I can already tell you is, then we can cut your balls off if that'll be more satisfactory.
The last shot echoes away to leave the silence, except for an rhythmic. Oh, it skipped a page there, but Skip pulls off his leg and starts blasting it like a machine gun, taking out all of Eddie Black's men. The last shot echoes away to leave silence, except for the rhythmic echoing shuffle of Skip's one shoe as he continues to hop in place for balance. Smiley, after a watchful pause to make sure everyone is dead, sticks out his left arm at waist level. Skip grabs the arm for support, stops hopping, and there is now total silence. Robert G. Durant, the elegantly suited leader, takes out a cigar and a gold-plated cigar trimmer. Snip. He trims the end of the cigar and sticks it in his mouth. As he walks toward the dumbly apprehensive Black,
Now let's consider my points one by one.
Guzman puts a full Nelson on Black. Trumayne grabs Black's right hand and holds it out, fingers splayed towards Durant.
1.
He slips one of Black's fingers into his cigar trimmer.
I try not to let my anger get the better of me.
Snip. Black screams as Durant goes for another finger.
2. I don't always succeed.
Snip. Black screams, reaching for another finger.
3. I've got 7 more points.
Exterior wharf day. Looking down at the lonely waterfront building, we hear Black screams. Cut to interior Westlake Lab day, an enormous eye, making jerky little movements this way and that. Eyes POV, an enormous nose. We pull focus through the nose, then back to a sharp focus again. The nose fills the screen, every pore a cavern, every blemish a mountain. Eye blinking, nose, the nostrils flare slightly. Eye looking, nose still. Suddenly, it's hit with a flash of light as beep. We hear the automatic wind of a camera and its strobe recharging. Beep, beep. We get rapid-fire left and right nose profiles. Wider. We're in a lab. Dr. Peyton Westlake, an earnest scientist in his early 30s, is straightening up from behind a futuristic-looking tripod-mounted camera. He hits a button in front of the camera and instantly 3 prints of the nose feed out. The nose belongs to Yakitito Yanagita, a Japanese graduate student wearing a lab smock and glasses with thick Coke bottle lenses.
Now, if everything goes according to plan, in a couple of months, your nose will be on the lips of every American.
He's feeding the prints into the input slot of a computer. On the computer screen, the nose is broken down into thousands of points. As each point of the nose is removed from the screen, a number is assigned.
We finally got the imager working how we want it.
Pan to a holographic imager cylinder. The glass cylinder, wired to the computer, glows to life. The three-dimensional holographic image of Yakitito's nose rotates within. Peyton glances at the imager at the computer. He types on the computer keyboard.
BioPress checks out okay.
He glances to the BioPress as it hums to life. It's a box containing linear rows of densely packed pins. Tiny servo motors beneath the pins allow each pin to rise or fall individually per computer command. A smooth synthetic substance is being sprayed evenly atop the surface of the pins. The spray halts and the wet substance glistens. The densely packed pins rise to the programmed heights, molding the solidifying synthetic substance into an exact replica of Yakitito's nose. No more bouncing. Looks perfect.
I don't know about perfect, but it looks like your nose, down to the millimeter. No, the BioPress won't be a problem. It's the synthetic skin's instability. If the skin would just hold up. You give me a burn victim and a photograph of his old face, he'll get more than a nose. We're talking complete reconstruction, damaged skin tissue, maybe even make him better looking. Hey, what's the time?
98 minutes and change.
Let's check in on our friends.
Peyton moves to a microscope. Microscope POV, cells swimming in an agar protoplasm bath. Peyton glances to a computer monitor that's connected to the microscope. The computer reads amino acid content 64%, membrane potential. There's a bunch of numbers there. I'm not going to read all of them. Peyton punches in some data, and then the image on the computer split screens. On the left half, a rotating 3-dimensional computer-generated image of a protein molecule. Beneath it, the word epidermis. On the right half of the screen, another image forms. It's a second molecule. Beneath it, synthetic epidermis structural match. The molecules rotate in synchronization, a loud beeping tone. Suddenly, the synthetic molecule begins to waver and spin randomly.
Oh, no.
Viewed through the microscope, the unstable cells fragment. In the Westlake lab, Peyton shoves himself away from the microscope.
Fragmentation. Time?
99 minutes. Again. He stares dumbly at the stopwatch, frozen, and repeats. 99 minutes. Cells always break up in 99 minutes. He punches away at a keyboard and takes the readout.
Electrolytes, temp and glucose concentration all normal.
Still is 99 minutes. Yakitito takes a notation of the time on a lab sheet. Peyton, pacing, thinking.
What is destabilizing it? Vivification process was cake. Tissue rejection, we licked that. We're close. We're smart guys. So why can't we make these cells stable? Okay, let's try a 10% alkalinity. Get those suckers too drunk to fragment.
Yakitito posts the completed lab sheet on a wall covered with hundreds of similar sheets. We already tried 10. Pokes at the section of the lab sheets. And 20 and 22. We try all phase of alkalinity. Punches the wall. Still 99 minutes. 3 months ago, 99 minutes. 10 months ago, 99 minutes. Bam, bam. Yakitito punches the wall again and again. Peyton calmly taps a plastic dunking bird that slowly bobs.
A word of advice, Yakitito. Don't get emotionally involved. Watch, analyze, remain object.
Bam. He's cut off as Yakitito punches the wall again and again to punctuate his speech. Maybe I'm a lousy scientist. Maybe I listen to my father get rich and sell Honda in Anaheim. Get drunk on sake nightly. Forget I'm a failure.
Quick, Yakitito.
A basketball appears in Peyton's hands. He tosses it to camera. Yakitito catches the ball.
The most striking characteristic of thermionic emission.
Yakitito throws the ball away. No, always you ask me a question to make me calm down. I don't want to calm down. Peyton catches the ball, dribbles, and throws it back to Yakitito.
The answer, Yakitito.
Yakitito snags the ball angrily from the air. It's the most strongly depending on temperature. Throws it at Peyton, who grabs it and pump fakes Yakitito, not letting him have the ball.
Go on.
He pump fakes again. Yakitito flinches. This means the temperature of the emitter is not critical as long as it is sufficiently high and as long as the pure metals with high operating temperatures such as tungsten or tantalum are used. Peyton tosses the ball. Yakitito catches it. Calm now. He blinks. Amazing. It works every time. Cut to interior Hunt Club lobby day. Louis Strack Sr., a no-nonsense octogenarian, and his son, Louis Strack Jr., a powerfully built debonair 50, stride into a lobby. They are accompanied by a couple of aides. Julie Hastings, a young attractive woman who has apparently been awaiting their arrival, arises from a chair and crosses the lobby to greet them. She's dressed as a conservative business suit and carries a briefcase.
Mr. Mr. Strack, my name is Julie Hastings. I'm here from Pappas and Swain to represent you in the von Hoffenstein negotiation.
How do you do? And please, call me Louis. This is my father who...
Strack Sr. interrupts his son's introduction.
I don't want some fancy-ass woman to do my negotiating. Where's Herb Gorson? Gorson's tied up in litigation this week. Don't worry, I've done my homework.
Strack Sr. scowls, ungraciously accepting her.
I'll stop worrying when you get Bond Ballbreaker's price down to 60 million.
He turns and starts striding down the hallway, the others following.
If he gets that low, lock him up.
Interior Hunt Club private dining room day. The Stracks and Julie are seated at a table next to a large picture window that looks out on a bridle path. Jodhpur equestrians gallop past in the distance. Seated across from them are Baron Hugo von Hoffenstein, a bald, hook-nosed Austrian aristocrat with a patrician air and cold, beady eyes. He's accompanied by his attorney, Myron Katz. Liveried waiters are just clearing the table and serving coffee.
We want to be reasonable here. We said we were interested in selling the pier frontage and we were interested in selling. But frankly, Mr. Vaughn will not be robbed. 75 strikes us as a fair price for this parcel. We're ready to conclude the deal here, and now at that price.
Pleasantly.
Then I guess we're only missing one element here.
What's that?
An interested party.
Strack Jr. tries to suppress a smile. Waiters bring in wine and pour a tasting portion for Van Hoffenstein, silent, coldly watchful. He rolls the wine in his glass, eyes appraising Julie. He takes a sip, cocks his head, nods. Wine is poured around.
Mr. Katz, I found that in the real estate business, these factors three factors determine a property's worth.
Katz leans forward, listening.
Location, location, and location. Frankly, you have none of the above. Your fair price is fair for Midtown commercial, not for riverfront.
It's worth more to your client, given his plans for the area.
If my client can spin straw into gold, he'll still pay market price for straw. As a matter of fact,
Business is business. Deals will come and go, but the Welt will pause for a beautiful woman and a fine wine.
our offer stands at 48.
Von Hoffenstein smiles a wordly smile.
Let us toast a sale at the price of 60 millions.
Strack Sr. smiles. He starts to raise his glass, preparing to toast. Camera dips incredibly fast beneath the table to reveal Julie's high heel as it digs into Strack Sr.'s toe to silence him. Julie to Van Hoffenstein.
You're moving in the right direction, but our offer stands firm. I believe if anyone had offered you more than us, you'd be sharing this wine with them.
She sips the wine and then, frowning, turns to the wine steward.
There's been a mistake. We ordered a bottle of 67 Beaujolais Maison Raimi, and is that not correct?
Oui, madam. 67 Beaujolais Maison Raimi is what I have to serve.
Julie pleasantly but firmly corrects him.
No, you've served us 1981 or 1982 California Beaujolais. Pleasant, but hardly worth what you're charging.
Strack Sr., frowning, examines the wine. It's news to him.
Please, madame, I serve the Raimi.
Irritated.
Mine tastes okay.
Miss Hastings, please. The wine is fine. You're way out of your league here. I'm sure the wine steward.
Von Hoffenstein plucks the bottle from the wine carriage. He peels back the white cloth to reveal the label. California San Meduso, 1982. The wine steward whispers sharply in French to the waiter, then turns back to the table.
Please forgive us. We bring the Belle Rem at once. Grazie. Gratis. Wine.
Julie addresses the Baron.
At any rate, our offer stands at 48.
As she rises.
And if we can't toast, we prefer not to drink. These gentlemen and I have other business to attend to, so if you'll excuse us.
Strack Sr. rises angrily. He turns to leave with her, murmuring under his breath.
I told you to make this deal.
Von Hoffenstein calls after him with his wine held high.
Permit me, madame, to find a wine not to use for a toast.
Cut to exterior Hunt Club lobby day. As Julie and the Stracks are leaving, Julie accidentally brushes against the steward and exchanges a few words. Strack Jr. has been watching. He approaches the steward.
How much does she pay you?
Monsieur, I don't know. What are you talking about?
For that little trick with the labels.
He takes the steward's fist and unfurls the steward's fingers, revealing a $100 bill. Strack Jr. turns to Julie's retreating figure and smiles. Cut to interior Westlake Lab day. A glass beaker filled with a clear fluid. Above it is another beaker filled with a brown crystalline substance. Above that is an empty beaker. Whoosh! The fluid disappears from the bottom beaker and instantly reconstitutes in the top as a steaming brown fluid. A pre-measured amount flows into a coiling tube into a coffee mug, and the hand enters a dollop of half and half. Peyton's hand. He raises the mug of coffee to his lips. He looks down to his microscope.
Time, Yakitito.
98 minutes. The light goes out, leaving the lab in darkness except for the glow of the computer screen. It's a bulb. I'll get a fresh. As he rummages in the drawer. So, did you ask her?
Tonight.
Out of habit, Peyton glances at the microscope. This is unbelievable. You've been saying tonight for weeks and you still don't ask her. Maybe I asked her to marry you.
Your father would never approve of me.
Yakitito stares at him in puzzlement. Then, No. I asked her if she'd marry you. Peyton looks through the microscope. Microscope POV. The cells still pulsate with life. Peyton cries out.
Time, Yakitito.
Huh? 100 minutes! Peyton grips the table in excitement.
The cells are holding, Yakitito. Okay, Yakitito. You made your point. Yakitito.
Nope, look, there's another page there where he's just so excited. Yakitito just keeps punching the wall. Dr. Wesley, punch the wall! Dr. Wesley, punch the wall!
Quickly. The function of sinusoidal currents and electrogenesis.
The basketball appears in Yakitito's hand. You punch the ball. You answer the question. He winds back to toss the ball to Peyton. Peyton flinches, ready to catch the ball, but it never comes. Yakitito pump fakes. Cut to interior limousine day. Trolling through the city, in the back, Strack Sr. and Strack Jr. both reading financial papers. We hold on the two men for a long time. Their utter stillness and silence grows unsettling. Finally,
Gold Cougarins are looking attractive.
another long
Those
pause.
the ones with the chocolate centers. Sorry. Those the one with the chocolate centers.
Another pause.
Gold currency, father, as you know.
And yet another pause.
Cougarins. Sounds like a frog trying to burp. Strack Industries will stick with real estate. You remember that.
The limo suddenly glides into a rundown Texaco station. Interior limousine Texaco station day.
What the hell? We have a flat, sir. I'm sorry. You should be. This will come out of your wages.
Exterior limousine. The driver gets out and stoops to examine the tire. The tire's not flat. The driver discreetly removes a straight razor from his coat pocket and approaches the tire. Interior limousine. After a pause, Strack Sr. rises heavily to his feet.
Time I took a leak anyway. Damn prostate. There's only one thing I gotta do myself, and I gotta do it 20 times a day.
Strack Sr. exits the car. Exterior limousine. Strack Sr. bends to examine the tire. The tire is now deflated. Strack Sr. scowls and heads towards the rundown men's room. Camera moves quickly and away in front of him to reveal something coming towards him at 20 feet away. A well-dressed man with a newspaper walking hurriedly, head bowed to the wind. Camera moves back to Strack Sr., who hobbles directly towards the man. Camera swishes in front of Strack Sr. to again reveal the man. Closer now. A one-quarter view of the man's downturned face. He looks up, revealing Durant. A terrible, malevolent grin as he lifts the newspaper. We make out the muzzle of a silencer. Camera switches to a close shot of Strack Sr., a muffled pop as he jerks backwards, clutching his chest. High angle. The two men pass. Interior limousine. Strack Jr. glances out the window. Exterior limousine, his POV. Strack Sr. crumbling to the ground atop a black cable. A bell dings continuously with the service station. Ding, 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 ding.
Father?
Strack Jr. races out of the car and rushes over to his father.
Father!
Strack Sr. lies motionless on his stomach. Strack Jr. turns him over, revealing that Strack Sr.'s chest is flooded in blood. Screeching sound as the blue Lincoln Continental races away from the scene. Strack Jr. lifts his father, emotion etched in every line on his face. He cradles the old corpse in his arms, lifting him off the black cable. The ringing sound is finally silenced. Cut to exterior street Westlake Lab night. A cab pulls up in front of an industrial building. Julie gets out and goes through the front door. Interior Westlake Lab building night. Darkness. Julie ascends a flight of shadowy stairs. The steps creak as she climbs in. We hear the eerie drip, drip, dripping of a water pipe. Julie's uneasy. She halts halfway up the stairs to listen. We hear only the scurrying of a rat's feet. She proceeds cautiously. The lab door, Julie reaches the landing and knocks, causing the door to open with a creak. Interior Westlake Lab night. Julie moves tentatively through the lab, increasingly frightened, sensing the presence of another person.
Peyton?
No answer. As she starts to move back towards the door, she brushes against a table. Something rolls and shatters to the floor. A test tube. A beam of light extends from one wall to the other. Reacting to the shattering test tube, Julie steps backwards into the beam. Click. A photo sensor picks up the disturbance. Crash, crash, crash. Corrugated steel coverings slide down the windows, blocking out all light from the laboratory, and there's a whirring sound as speakers extrude slowly from slots over the windows. A voice fills the room. It's a hollow voice that echoes about the lab. Voice,
Please be seated.
A spotlight snaps on, illuminating a chair behind her. Numbly, she sits in it. A screen slides down over the wall in front of her. The voice now takes on the monotonous tone of a narrator of educational films.
Love. How does it work? A Westlake Yanagita presentation.
A smile spreads across Julie's face. A slide is projected on the screen. It shows a sunset over the ocean. Very corny, distorted music over this shot.
Love. Science is perplexed over this great mystery.
Shots of Peyton and Yakitito in white lab coats, identical looking looks of perplexity on their faces. Julie laughs.
What are the causes of love? How do we detect its presence? What are its effects? These are some of the questions we will investigate in this lesson.
Again, the sunset and distorted music.
Part 1. The origins of love.
Sunset is replaced by split-screen photos of Peyton and Julie, age 12. Peyton peers into a test tube through glasses too big for his face. Julie assumes a mock debonair pose for the camera.
These lovers first met on a 7th grade field trip to the planetarium.
Shot of the night sky, rich with stars and galaxies.
While the narrator discussed the origins of the universe, Peyton held Julie's hand.
Shot of a somewhat nerdy Peyton with his arms stiffly around Julie.
You were so slick.
Our test subjects were soon to use the jargon of teenagers, going out. This going out period can be as short as a single date or as long as a lifetime.
Montage of Peyton and Julie throughout the years.
In the case of these two, a rare phenomenon. It lasted 20 years.
Although we broke up 16 times.
Sunset and distorted music.
Part 2. Mating and ritual.
The sunset is replaced by a shot of Julie in a rumpled bed, working on legal briefs, a camera-facing shadow crossing the image.
Certain objects develop a special shared meaning to lovers. Here are some objects significant to our test subjects.
Shots of coffee rings on a table.
The coffee rings Peyton tends to leave. They irritate Julie, and he leaves them everywhere.
Quick shots, coffee rings on a lab report, coffee rings on a bookshelf, coffee rings on a wall and ceiling. Julie laughs.
Yet, such strange, minor irritations can strangely become endearing to the other mate.
Not just yet, they haven't.
The slide changes to a shot of a bottle covered in wax.
A bottle of Dom Perignon champagne Julie gave Peyton for his 21st birthday. Now it serves as a candle holder.
Quietly.
I never gave you that.
The champagne bottle is replaced by a shot of a record album turning in a player. The music plays over an image. Haunting. Romantic.
Finally, the single Love in the Dark.
The song continues. Julie smiles, swept away by it.
This song was playing when the two first kissed.
A high school prom picture comes up on the screen. Peyton in awkwardly fitting tuxedo and Julie a blossoming beauty. On the slide, they've been caught kissing.
Now let us leave our test subjects.
The sunset again. Love in the Dark theme plays over it and eventually fades away.
Love. Its fundamental nature still eludes modern science. Yet researchers across the globe continue to study this ancient and powerful phenomenon, hoping one day to unlock love's mystery.
Credits come on. A Westlake Yanagita production, etc. The lights of the lab come on. Julie turns around. Peyton steps out from behind the slide projector.
Pretty stupid, huh?
I thought it was beautiful.
Yakitito helped. I just wanted you to see it. It was just something I wanted you to know.
I know.
Peyton wraps his arms around her. Julie moves close and they kiss. Dissolve to interior Westlake lab night. We pan across racks of test tubes. The test tubes vibrate like wind chimes, fall still and vibrate again. Our pan halts on Peyton and Julie on a fold-out couch, making love. The test tubes clatter to the rhythm of their lovemaking. Dissolve to later that night. Peyton watches Julie as she sleeps, his shadow crossing her beautiful face. He strokes her hair. Cut to interior Westlake lab morning. Sunshine streams through the shears of the window into Julie's shoulder. She sits on the bed going over some papers, her expression increasingly disturbed. Julie punches a number on the phone.
Dale Gordon, please.
Peyton's hand enters with a mug of coffee, which he sets on the papers in front of her.
Peyton.
Julie takes the mug away. It has indeed left a brown circle on the topmost memo. Julie smiles at him. Then,
Oh, Dale. Yes, Julie Hastings. Yes, I found some memos researching the von Hofstein deal that I don't think I was supposed to find. Yeah, from the late Mr. Strack to a guy named Claude Belisarius. The records of payments to various people on the zoning commission.
Peyton, behind her, massages her back.
They look like payoffs. Suspicious at the very least. Well, the way I'd like to proceed is to talk to Strack's son first. Give him the benefit of the doubt. Under the circumstances, it's the least I can do.
She hangs up. Peyton kisses her. She leans back into his arms and closes her eyes blissfully. Reluctantly, she rises and slips on her shoes. Peyton watches her, admiring everything about her. She gracefully lays her legal papers in the briefcase and heads for the door. Halfway out the door, she turns to Peyton.
Bye. I'll call you tonight. Maybe we can get together?
She exits. Peyton, the sound of the closing door echoes. He sits alone in the bed, looking about the empty apartment and lab beyond. Exterior city street morning. Julie, in an impressive corporate power suit, briefcase in hand, walks briskly down the sunny sidewalk, stopping at the intersection to signal a cab. Suddenly, running up behind her, Peyton, dressed in jeans and a sweatshirt, hurries to catch up with her.
Julie, wait.
She's opening the cab door when she turns to him.
What's the matter?
I've been thinking. Maybe we should get married.
Julie freezes, half in and half out of the cab door, panicked.
Marriage. Well, we could do that. Of course, there's our careers. I mean, I'm just starting to get things going with the firm. And I kind of like having my own place.
We're practically living together now. All marriage means is you answer the phone in the morning, and if it's my grandmother, you don't have to pretend it's a wrong number. The poor woman's beginning to think she has Alzheimer's.
I can't talk about this right now.
She starts to get into the cab when Peyton stops her.
Julie, I'm asking you to marry me.
The cabbie leans out of the window to Julie.
You got a ring?
Peyton, you didn't go out and spend a lot of money on a ring, did you?
Ring? No, I don't have a ring.
The cabbie motions for Julie. She leans close.
Don't show much sense of commitment.
Peyton bends down into frame and gives the cabbie a look that could stop a wristwatch. The cabbie responds by starting the meter running.
I just now finally realized.
I love you, Peyton.
She climbs into the cab and closes the door.
Realized how much?
But I guess I'm not ready.
Julie leans close to kiss him, but the cab pulls into traffic. Viewed through the rear windshield, Julie watches Peyton grow smaller as the cab drives off. Julie looks longingly back at Peyton. Did she make the right choice? She looks back once more for Peyton, but he's only a tiny dot in the distance. Interior, exterior, the city from Strack's office day. From many, many stories up, we're pulling back.
Yes, go ahead. Put a buy on the Cougarins. Thank you for your sympathy, friends. He was a great man. And as long as Strack Industries flourishes, my father lives on.
We pull back to show Strack behind his power desk talking into the phone. We hear the door open off screen, and Strack waves the person on into his lush corporate office. Interior, Strack's office day.
Very good. Thank you.
He hangs up.
Miss Hastings, have a seat.
Thank you for seeing me, Mr. Strack. I'm sorry for your father. I heard last night.
My father was a great man. His loss is felt by all of us. Can I get you something? Coffee? Brandy? Maison Remy, 1967.
No, thank you. Mr. Strack, I've been going over some documents and I came across something that puzzled me. It's a memo from your office to a Mr. Claude Belisarius. It went out over your father's signature. It detailed certain payments.
Strack has gotten up to pace.
Yes, I know the memo.
Julie continues hesitantly.
It seems like the payments were
Payoffs to the zoning commission, bribes, to call a spade a spade.
He gives her an appraising look.
Does that shock you?
No, in fact, I surmised as much.
But it disappoints you.
Well, it's hardly my place to.
That's right. It's not your place. Yet, I value your good opinion.
Surely you don't expect me to endorse it.
Of course not. I'm sure my father never intended for you to know about it. I'm sorry if he compromised you in any way. But I'm asking you to understand. I'm not going to bore you with all the old speech about how we all have to swim in the same pond. But you know as well as I do that not so much as one mini mall ever went up in this city without some grease being laid onto the palms downtown. You're not naive. You know it's a cost of doing business. Ordinarily, you don't have to face it. Well, I face it, and a lot worse. Into a cynic, that's the easy way out. And I'm tougher than that.
Strack gestures towards a tabletop architectural model of the riverfront development.
Take a look at that model, Julie. That was my father's dream. Now it's my dream. Acres of riverfront reclaimed from decay, thousands of jobs created, a building block, very large building block. Laid out for future. Not such a bad dream as dreams go. And if the price of realizing the dream is the occasional distasteful chore, well, the point is my father is well beyond the reach of the law, but that memo could embarrass Strack Enterprises.
All right, your point is well taken, but the fact remains that I'm in possession of evidence of the commission of a crime. You can no more ask me to destroy it than I could ask you to destroy one of your buildings.
Let me suggest this. Do you excuse yourself for a few minutes? Go to the ladies' room, leaving your briefcase here. What happens to that memorandum, while it's in my custody, is my responsibility.
Julie smiles.
I wish it were that simple. First of all, I don't have the memo with me, even if I did.
It isn't safe to have that document.
Are you threatening me?
Strack moves closer, touching her arm.
I'm trying to protect you. Does the name Robert Durant mean anything to you?
He's an underworld figure, racketeering drugs.
In real estate. Robert Durant is a competitor for the riverfront and knows about that document. He is a criminal, Julie, and he will freely resort to criminal methods to get what he wants.
There's a pause.
Well, you're very eloquent, and frankly, I'm not certain what I should do. You'll have to trust me for a day or so to figure this out.
Is that the most I can extract from you?
Firmly.
For now.
I believe it is. Well then, my dear, I'm in your hands.
Cut to interior hallway of Strack's office day. Julie exits the office area and gets into the elevator. Interior elevator, Strack's building day. Julie and two elder women descend in the elevator. Music is piping in from overhead and speakers. It takes a moment before Julie realizes that she's hearing Love in the Dark, haunting and sad. As Julie listens, she becomes more and more affected.
And you know, we never said one bad word to that girl. He never done wrong by her. She's sure sorry now. He was a real one.
Well, you find someone who loves you like Jim loved her. Now you shouldn't give him up so easy.
Close on Julie. The woman's remarks are not lost on her. Interior Westlake Lab day. Peyton stands over the projected microscope image on the computer monitor.
Time.
96 minutes. So did you ask her?
Not yet, Yakitito. Not yet. Time.
This is unbelievable. Every day
Time, Yakitito.
is still 96 minutes. Sounds like maybe you didn't ask her. Maybe you're afraid?
Look, I asked her. She said no, okay? Well, she actually said, I don't know.
Peyton stands and stretches. The telephone rings and Peyton moves to answer it.
I'll get it.
Exterior payphone day. Julie is beaming as she stands at a payphone waiting for Peyton to answer.
Please be there, Peyton.
Interior Westlake Lab day. Peyton reaches for a phone when a hand juts out of the shadows and clutches at Peyton's wrist.
Don't bother.
Peyton, we hold on his shocked face as the phone rings and then stops. Click. A light hits Peyton's face. He turns to look. His POV? A tensor light flashes on in the back of the lab. Pauly's chunky outline is revealed. The middle-aged balding man raises the box of Malox to his lips, and he takes a hearty gulp. His lips are once again coated in the chalky white fluid. Another light comes on, revealing Trumayne. Another light, Guzman. Another light reveals the entire gang. Corcoran and the grinning Smiley stand side by side. Near them, Skip. At the very back is Rick, looking a little green around the gills. Peyton looks wildly around. His POV panning from Skip to Rudy to Trumayne to Pauly's fist being launched directly at his face. Peyton is knocked back across the lab table. Glassware and equipment fly. Pauly pulls him up and slams him into the wall. Peyton sags down, then hauls himself to his knees to behold gold cigar trimmer. Snip, trimming the edge of the cigar, which is brought to the mouth of Robert Durant, towering above.
No foolish heroics, if you please. We have come only for documents. Tell us where to find the Belisarius memorandum, and we shall disappear like a nightmare before the breaking day.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Bam, bam. Pauly has grabbed him by the hair and rams his head into the wall twice. Durant looking sadly down.
The Belisarius memorandum, if you please.
Told you I don't know what you're talking about.
Crackle. Yakitito is thrust into frame, his mouth stretched wide under a plastic bag that covers his head.
Should your houseboy predicament not jog your memory, you may bid him Godspeed.
Stop it. Let him breathe.
You heard the doctor. Ventilate him.
Rick steps forward, unholstering a gun, pointing at the spot where Yakitito's mouth gapes onto the plastic. Peyton surges forward, but a vicious backhand blow from Pauly sends him backwards to the floor. He raises his face just as, bam, an orange flash plays on Peyton's horrified features. Thunk. Yakitito drops into frame in front of him. Rick, with a trembling hand, he holsters the gun. He withdraws a bottle of pills from his jacket. He shakes out 2 and swallows them dry. Trumayne emerges from the bedroom.
Bingo.
He waves the coffee-stained document that he found.
Fine.
Trumayne and Pauly grab Peyton and ram him into 2 electrodes that lead to a reservoir of blue fluid. Peyton connects and is electrified. Unable to let go, he shrieks as his body does the electric jitterbug. Peyton's hands as his skin peels away from the bone under the intense electrical discharge. Peyton opens his mouth, but no sound comes out. Rick's face twitches in horror. Peyton screams as his hands burst into flame. The electrodes that he clutches snap and fall into the reservoir of blue fluid that instantly crackle. Flashes of white current light up Smiley's beaming face. Peyton collapses to the floor, atop his flaming hands smothering him. Durant calmly puts out his cigar and opens the valve on a green tank labeled oxygen, the other acetylene. He places the electric cigar under the beak of the drinking bird. Like an oil rig, the bird's beak bobs closer and closer to the switch on the lighter. Peyton pulls himself to his knees, cradling the smoking claws that were his hands. Durant lifts him to his feet.
Please remain calm. Let's keep this orderly. Resistance now would only prompt acts of pointless cruelty.
Durant gestures with a quick movement of his head. Guzman and Pauly grab firmly a hold of Peyton's legs. They rush him forward and dunk his head in the electrified bath of blue liquid. Inside the bath, Peyton's face upside down, eyes bulging. Underwater electrical sparks course past him. Scream bubbles erupt from his mouth. The charged blue fluid eats into his skin. Smiley grins in delight. Peyton in the electrified bath. The scream subsides, the electricity short circuits and shuts out. Peyton's limp body falls out of frame. Durant surveys the wrecked lab, then hands Trumayne his cigar trimmer. Softly.
Bring the Asian's fingers. Gentlemen.
Durant and the thugs exit. Peyton lies immobile. The open gas valves hiss, filling the room with explosive mix of oxygen and acetylene. The drinking bird's beak inches closer to the ignition button on the lighter. Peyton stirs slightly, his breath a twisted wheeze. Slowly he comes to his knees. Head and hands trailing smoke, he crawls towards the bobbing bird and lighter. Exterior Westlake Lab apartment building, twilight. A midnight blue 89 Continental pulls away. A cab pulls up. Julie emerges from the cab and fishes into her purse for the fare. The headlights of the limo sweep over and away. Peyton drags himself past the bay window to within a foot of the bobbing bird. The hissing of the gas is loud. The beak of the drinking bird dips closer to the electric lighter's ignition button. Peyton crawls to the base of the table which holds the bobbing bird and lighter. Peyton's charred and smoking hand fumbles for the lighter. Closer, closer. Contact. The lighter clicks. Silence. A tiny spark is born. It grows. Silence. Extreme close-up on Peyton's pupil as it widens in fear, then contracts, responding to a bright, silent flash. Silence lab wall. 1,000 lab sheets ignite. A hidden slide projector is triggered. On the screen, flash slides from the Peyton Yakitito presentation. Images of Peyton and Julie, the split-screen picture of two lovers melt as the screen bursts into flames. Slow motion on Peyton is directly between us and the blast. An intense blue light fades up, brilliantly backlighting Peyton. His stark shadow burns into us. We see Peyton as he is thrust off his feet and rockets through the wall. Exterior, Peyton's building, night. Intense blue light flashes out the windows and up to the chimney into the sky. Peyton's ragdoll body spins end over end upwards towards the stars, silently. It takes a moment for the sound of the explosion to catch up from the blast. Kaboom! Noise that makes the earth shake. Exterior street, night. Julie is knocked to the sidewalk by the shockwave. A flaming chair and large bricks rain down around her. The sky, as Peyton's flaming body plummets towards the earth like a comet. Exterior river. Peyton splashes into the fire-lit water. Exterior river. As he floats down like a dead man, flaming debris from the building splashing down around him. With a groan, he sinks into the murky water. Julie pulls herself to her feet. She stands in utter shock in the downpour of forks, knives, and spoons. Before her, Peyton's building burns like a haystack. Off-screen, sirens wail. Julie, she stands in shock as Peyton's building burns. Charred bits of charred paper float past her and at the burning building beyond. The burning background fades away. Night turns to day as tombstones appear on either side of her. The falling bits of paper change to falling leaves. Julie remains in the exact same position. Her business suit becomes a black suit of mourning. Exterior graveyard, close shot Julie. Her expression of shock has not changed. In front of her, a marker. It reads, Peyton Westlake. Camera pulls back to reveal a limousine driver, leaning back against his limousine, looking bored. He turns back to the Gravedigger, an older man dressed in soiled work overalls who props himself up on his shovel.
Didn't see you working out there.
Never found the guy's body, just an ear, and don't take too long to bury that. Now, sometimes when this happens, folks will be looking for a discount. See, I ain't the digging that you're paying for. Or, I'm sorry, it ain't the digging that you're paying for, it's the real estate.
They watch as Julie buttons her coat and straightens herself, attempting to gain resolve. She will put this behind her. She walks towards the limousine, but is suddenly hammered by grief. Her gait wavers. Racked by sobbing, she falls. Tears stream from her eyes as she clutches at the grass. A priest helps her to her feet. Julie raises her tear-soaked face to see the extent of her suffering. Exterior graveyard. The tiny figure of the priest as he places a consoling arm around her. They walk off to the waiting car. Slow fade out. Fade in, interior, hospital burn unit, day. Blue. The undifferentiated blue resolves itself as a rippling blue fluid, resembling the acid bath in Peyton's lab. A form emerges from its depths. A completely bandaged head breaks the surface of the fluid. A patient is lifted from a hydro tank, the complex water vessel in which burn patients are treated. He lies perfectly still, hands and face swathed in gauze, a 20th century mummy. Tubes and wires poke from his body. We hear the steady beeping of a cardiogram. Masked burn nurses carefully wrap the mummy onto a hydraulically powered multi-axled burn platform. Behind him are other bandaged patients, some rotating on burn platforms, some still submerged in their hydro tanks. The resident physician and her 4 interns saunter over to the hydraulic bed where nurses adjust the patient's IV tubing.
Here we have a 25, 30-year-old male. No ID, no medical history. Fished the guy out of the river with burns covering over 40% of his body. His hands and face were most severe.
A bird nurse pushes a button. Motors grinding, the hydraulic platform rotates, slowly spinning the mummified man. For a brief moment, he's upside down.
10 years ago, pain from the burns would have been intolerable. The guy would have spent the rest of his days screaming. Now we use this Rangeverits technique. Quite simply, we sever his spino thalamic nerve. That
Zip.
is-
She extends a telescoping steel pointer and indicates a spot just above Peyton's bandaged ear.
Here, which, as you know, transmits neural impulses of pain and vibratory sense to the brain.
Zip. She collapses the pointer and returns to his pocket. The hydraulic burn platform continues its slow rotation with the mummified patient now turned sideways.
No longer receiving impulses of pain, you stick him with a pin.
She jabs a sterilized needle deep into the bandaged knee. Interns gasp. The resident leaves the pin in the knee for dramatic effect.
He can't even feel it.
With a sharp, practiced motion, she plucks out the pin. Patient's bandaged face. His eyes still closed. No response.
Of course, there are serious emotional side effects of this operation. When the body ceases to feel, when so much sensory input is lost, the patient becomes alienated. The mind, cut off from its regular diet of input, has a never satisfied thirst. Alienation gives rise to loneliness. Anger, uncontrolled rage is not uncommon. And the rage problem is exacerbated by the chemical effect of severing the nerve. Now, surges of adrenaline flow unchecked through the body and brain, giving him the strength of a dozen men. Hence, the leather restraints.
The resident turns and heads for the door. The interns follow like little ducklings. The patient's bandaged face, but as it rotates into frame, it clangs to a halt. Between the bandages, the eyes pop open, blue and fiercely lucid. It's Peyton, and he's heard everything. Interior hospital corridor. The residents speak over the shoulders to the interns as they walk.
Naturally, we give him every chance of recovery.
She waves her hand about in a futile circle, letting the interns know that this is a party line.
Remain optimistic, inspire confidence, talk to him about rehabilitation potential. Personally, I give him a 9 on the buzzer scale.
The loudspeakers emit a loud warning tone. Code Blue Burn Unit, all doctors report. Code Blue Burn Unit. The residents and interns freeze for a half moment, turn, and race back the way they came. Interior hospital corridor number 2, tracking with 2 orderlies in their crash cart as they race pell-mell down the hallway, rubbing conductive jelly between the defibrillator paddles. Interior burn unit hospital curtain is opened violently by a nurse. Her jaw drops in disbelief. Doctors and technicians rush into the room and freeze. The resident is the last to arrive. She can't see above the heads of the technicians and interns.
All right, move. I'm in charge here. Let me through.
She pushes her way to the front of the crowd and blinks stupidly at the camera. Peyton's hydraulic platform. Loose bandages, torn leather restraints, and a tangled EKG wire dangle aimlessly in the wind. A bright flash of lightning illuminates the empty hydraulic bed. The resident's hair is suddenly blown back by a gust of wind. Confused, she looks up from the bed and out the open window. Through the open window, dark storm clouds billow over the city. Thunder crashes. Exterior, alley entrance, empty street, dusk. Thunder rumbles and it begins to rain. A delirious Peyton, now wearing a ratty black overcoat, staggers and falls into an oily mud puddle. Close-up shot on Peyton. He slowly rises his bandaged face from the mud. Desperate eyes peer out from a slit in the muddied bandages. He forces himself to stand and move onwards. He stops in his tracks. His POV across the street, Julie's brownstone apartment. Julie steps from the stylish foyer and opens her umbrella. Peyton's eyes grow misty. He staggers across the street towards her. Julie, terrified at the sight of a hideous hand clutching her shoulder. Scarred tendons and hand bones poke from unraveling bandages. They grip tighter, seeking help. Repulsed, Julie spins to see the dark figure, Peyton, a vague, unrecognizable shape in the shadows. From it comes an awful sound of an inhumane voice, an unintelligible, guttural rasp.
Julie, help me!
Julie, a gasp caught in her throat, backs away. Peyton recoils from her rejection. He removes his offending horror hand and tucks it shamefully behind his back.
It's me!
Julie moves quickly away, her hand protecting her throat. Her fear is mixed with pity as she turns away from this monstrous man.
It's me!
But she's too far away to hear. A high shot from 20 stories above the city street. In the downpour, the 2 tiny figures turn below and move quickly from one another, one towards the warm lights of the brownstone, the other to the shadows of the alley. Cut to an exterior city street night. A bandaged Peyton emerges from a cloud of fog in the worsening rain. A laughing couple rush from the posh restaurant past Peyton and into a waiting taxi. Exterior street. Peyton's lonely eyes follow them. He's overcome with despair. We pull back to such a great distance that Peyton looks like the last man on Earth. Cut to exterior alley. Rain pounds the surface of the alley, hurricane hard. Gutter spouts gush torrents of water. A flattened cardboard box is whisked away from a violent gust of wind, revealing Peyton, who's been huddled beneath it, a lost man. He coughs and stares blankly at a sewer drain, inches from his face. Rainwater spins around and around in a whirlpool. A scrap of newspaper is swept into the current. Peyton stares at it. Closer on a spinning newspaper, it bears a picture of his face. Peyton's bandaged eyes widen. Closer on the newspaper, it snags on a stick, revealing the picture's headline: Scientist dies in accidental blast. Body still missing. Exterior alley. Peyton lying in the alley, staring at the whirlpool. It rains. Cut to interior Westlake lab apartment, day. The charred door falls towards us into the ashes of Peyton's lab and apartment. Outside the lab, Peyton stands in the doorway, wearing the black tattered overcoat and bandages. He gapes at the wreckage of his former world. Yakitito's Coke bottle glasses twisted from the heat. Peyton picks up an overturned end table and sets it right. He started to pick up an overturned chair when the futility of it hits him. His bandaged fingers relax, letting the charred chair fall back into the ashes. Peyton moves to a scorched and broken mirror which reflects his bandaged face. He pulls up the gauze from his face and peers at his reflection. We are not privy to the sight, but it horrifies him. He shakes in a choked sob. We move down the ashes to reveal a photograph of Peyton and Julie. In the photo, Julie is relaxed and beautiful, but Peyton's face is blistered and scorched. Peyton grabs the photo in a fire-ravaged voice.
Do you still love me now, when I'm just some repulsive thing you can no longer recognize? When I sicken you? When you run?
A glint catches his eye. He turns. Durant's gold lighter, twisted and scorched. Peyton's skeletal fingers clutch the lighter and lift it to his eyes. Peyton's eyes lose their dull, wounded appearance. Anger builds. Adrenaline surges. An emotion awakens from deep within the primitive portion of his brain, his rage spot. Rage. He shakes it as it floods him. A vein stands out on his forehead, swelling with blood, heaving into the frantic pace of his heart. He clutches his head. Crack. Gigantic radiating fissures appear in the walls, the ceiling, the floor, everywhere Peyton looks. He turns to us suddenly. The camera rockets into his dark pupil. Within the blackness, we perceive... Our view moves deeper into the nerve until we come to the arterial plexus. We follow the pulsating arteries as they wind back through the dark corridors of his brain to the blood-brain barrier. Electrical nerve impulses bombard the barrier, flashing upon his receiving wall of his brain. Zap, flash, flash. The nerve images bend back upon one another in startling succession. We catch glimpses of volcanoes erupting, mathematical formulas, Julie as a lover goddess whore, explosions of bricks and flame, operating room surgeons above us cutting, Durant as chief surgeon, a cigar sticking out through a hole in his mask. The leering heads of Durant's gang poke through the fissures in the wall, elongated necks laughing insanely. Camera racing towards Peyton's bandaged face 6 times, same move, super fast, rah, 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 that beat. Sure. Peyton ranting and raving, shaking his fist at the heavens with biblical wrath. We can't hear him. We pull back from his pupil to reveal Peyton, sitting in the ashes on the floor in the lab of his apartment. There are no fissures in the wall or ceiling. Peyton is framed by the bay window. The city lights sparkle behind him. Somehow during the psychotic rage burst, night has fallen. Peyton's bandaged hand closes over the lighter. His mouth twists from its pained grimace, past the neutral position, forming a tiny smile. His eyes gleam wickedly. A foghorn moans from the river. The Darkman is born. Interior grand ballroom night. The blackness turns out to the innards of a trombone. We are pulling away from its bell to reveal we're at a party. The band plays, many couples dance, others chat around the bar. The band leader wraps up a song, polite applause. Continued pullback reveals the beaming face of Governor Bryant, a red-faced man in his late 40s. He sits at the head of a crowded table. On the table, a huge cake, elaborately constructed in the sleek shape of a sleek modern skyline, the same as the model on Strack's desk. The governor cuts one of the skyscrapers neatly in half with a knife. Loud applause. The governor passes the piece to Louis Strack Jr., who sits at his side.
As usual, Louis, you get the first piece of the action.
Laughter. Strack takes a bite from the building's top floors.
Louis, I want to take this opportunity to express my gratitude, my extreme gratitude.
He's talking about my campaign contribution.
Loud laughter. The governor waves it away.
I'm talking about the Riverside Development Program. Louis, you breathed new life into a neighborhood long ago lost to the Democrats.
Interior women's powder room. The band is faintly heard. Julie stands before the mirror and practices a convincing smile. Beside her, a young woman pouts into the mirror as she applies lipstick. The woman exits through the tilted archway. Her shadow meets that of a man's. Julie watches the happy shadows embrace, kiss, and move off. She stands immobilized, overcome. Grand ballroom, the stairs. A beautiful woman floats away down a set of marble stairs. Heads turn. It's Julie, wearing a tight-fitting formal black dress. She forces a smile. She looks unhappy, but she looks good. She sits at the bar a little away from the party area.
Vodka lime, please. Double.
A businessman, flushed with drink, observes her. He moves to the seat beside her.
Drowning your sorrows, eh?
Just just giving them something to swim around in.
He drinks the vodka quickly. She sighs.
Why don't you tell him all your troubles to old Jimbo?
Please remove your hands.
The businessman has his hand on her thigh. It crawls upwards. Another hand clamps firmly down on his shoulder and spins him around.
Hey, what the?
Louis Strack Jr. stands before him, distinguished and dapper, looking better than ever. He gives his famous grin. It's worth $1 million.
Ferguson, you've had too much to drink.
Right away, Mr. Strack.
Chastened, he beats a hasty retreat. Strack turns to Julie.
Thanks for getting rid of that guy.
Thank you for coming. I'm glad you're here.
He takes her by the arm and starts to lead her across the crowded floor.
I haven't wanted to bother you during your period of grief, but I have to know whether you've come to a decision regarding the Belisarius Miranda.
That memo. Yeah, the decision's been made for both of us. The papers were destroyed in the fire. I want to forget all about that.
Fire. The whole thing. I'm quite disturbed by it. I can't help but wonder.
What?
Do you remember when I mentioned a certain competitor of mine, Robert G. Durant?
No, I've considered it, but police ruled out arson. It burned hot, a gas fire. There was an acetylene leak. The tiniest spark could have.
She breaks off, getting choked up. Strack's manner is sympathetic and solemn.
Believe me, no stranger to the frustration and anguish that comes from the loss of a loved one.
He forces himself to rally his spirits.
My dear, there's no cure for grief except time.
He takes her by the hand.
There's something that eases the symptoms. It's called
He sweeps her out onto the dance floor.
dancing.
On the dance floor, Julie finally smiles.
Julie, I was quite impressed with your performance in the von Hoffenstein negotiations. Outstanding. I believe in instinct. I like yours. I want you to think about something. No need to decide now, but I'd like to have you as a member of my permanent staff.
That's very flattering, but my commitment's to Pappas and Swain.
Already spoken to Ed Pappas.
You had no right.
Be childish. I had every right. He doesn't want to lose you. Said he'll fight tooth and nail to keep you at the firm. Good. I like a good scrap. If it isn't worth fighting for, it's not worth having. Just consider that I won't be outbid. Think about it. I know you, Hastings. You're ready for something big. You know why we understand each other? Because we worked for it. We both sweat for it.
He increases his grip and lowers his voice, taking her into his confidence.
We both know what it's like to be on the bottom. Well, now I'm going to the top, and I'm offering you a ride up.
Julie resents being gripped and lectured to, and yet she senses in Strack a power and magnetism that holds her.
I'll consider it.
Strack smiles. As he sweeps her around, her eyes catch something. Her face tightens.
Mr. Strack, I don't want to alarm you, but who was that man speaking with the governor?
Strack turns to look.
What's he doing here?
Swish pan from Strack's frozen expression through a blur of dancers to Robert Durant, chatting with the governor. He catches Strack's eyes. Strack holds eye contact for a moment.
That, my dear, is Robert Durant.
Durant smiles. Cut 2. Exterior Rick's apartment. Rick's car pulls in. He climbs out and walks towards the front door of his building. The sound of foot on gravel. He glances behind him. Rick's car in the shadowy lot, nothing else. Rick turns his head swiftly to a passing shadow. Empty street. Wind gusts dead leaves across the pavement. Rick shudders. Shaking off his nerves, he fishes around in his breast pocket and removes a bottle of prescription pills. I gotta take it easy. He pops 2 of the pills into his mouth and swallows them dry. He enters the apartment building. Rick's apartment bedroom later. Rick lies asleep. The TV is on in the background, playing loud static. Camera slowly pans to wooden blinds. The wind gusts, causing the shutters to clatter. Crackle of electricity as the TV snaps off. Rick jerks awake. The place is totally dark. Who's there? He gets up and looks around. A small and evil laugh reverberates from the darkness. It chills Rick to the core. Guttural, vaguely human. It's the fire-ravaged laugh of the Darkman. Rick calls out to the shadows. What do you want?
We're gonna play a little game. It's called Show and Tell. First, you tell me everything.
From the blackness, something charred and twisted emerges. It's Darkman's burnt skeletal claw, a hideous sight even now seen now for the first time. A deranged digit extends to stroke Rick's face, then retract into the darkness.
Then I show you how to scream.
A terrifying pause, then Rick screams as his legs fall out from under him. Camera pans down to reveal a skeletal claw dragging a kicking, screaming Rick under the bed. Under the bed, a horizontal view of the bandaged Darkman, nose to nose with Rick. Darkman peels the bandage from his mouth to reveal a gaping maw of burnt, crooked teeth.
You always knew there was something like me under the bed.
Cut to interior Rick's apartment later. A corner of Rick's room, partially demolished. A badly beaten Rick hurls through frame and slams into the corner. Darkman's skeletal fist smashes into the wall like a flying pile drivers around Rick's head. Smash, 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 smash. Plaster cracks and flies. Rick's bleeding face twitches in fear, on sanity's edge. But I gave you their names. Where they lived, I told you everything. Darkman's eyes leer at us.
I know you did.
Eyes come close. Closer.
But let's pretend you didn't.
His skeletal claw clamps down over the camera lens. Blackness. Cut to exterior night, row of stone gargoyles perched atop a building. The bandaged Darkman is also there, flanked by stone creatures. He is wringing his hands together in angst. The fire-ravaged voice.
Bad.
He looks to the moody sky. Inky clouds drift past overhead. Interior Julie's apartment bedroom night. The light of the street lamp dimly illuminates Julie asleep in bed. She sighs in her sleep and gently turns away from some disquieting presence in her dream. Or is he in the room? We hear the click of a lock, wind rushes in, and stillness. A deformed shadow crawls along the wall, dropping down over Julie's form. The Darkman stands over the bed, swathed in bandages, staring. A few chords from Love in the Dark play over the image, but distorted now, ominous. Darkman reaches out and delicately touches Julie's hair with a skeletal claw, a twisted reprise of the earlier scene. Julie shivers and instinctively recoils in her sleep. Darkman quickly removes the offending hand. Darkman stands motionless for a long time. We move in on his face. The bandages below his eyes are moist. The Darkman brushes at the tear-stained bandages with the back of his gnarled hand.
Julie.
Julie continues to sleep.
I need you.
He glances down to a close shot of Peyton and Julie. He tries to brush away the burnt matter obscuring his face in the photograph. He closes his eyes, then, quietly.
Got to have my face back, even if it's only for 99 minutes.
Julie suddenly sits up from a dream and cries.
Peyton?
Her POV. The curtains flutter in the wind. She's alone. Cut to exterior city street, morning. Darkman POV over a shopping cart. People give him a wide berth on the sidewalk as they pass by. A mother protectively pulls her child back away from the cart. We turn off onto an alley as it twists and grows narrow. Tracking with the shopping cart, as it winds through the alley, it's filled with charred electronics salvaged from the wreckage of Peyton's lab. Beakers, tubing, computer parts, Walkman tape recorder, the holographic cylinder, and biopress. The shopping cart bangs to a halt against a condemned sign on a steel door. A bolt cutter is raised from the cart. Snip. Interior warehouse. Blackness. The steel door slides open, letting in bright sunlight, revealing the interior of a deserted warehouse. The Darkman appears silhouetted in the doorway. He pushes the shopping cart to the warehouse and disappears into the darkness. He steps into a shaft of light. Camera pans up his old black shoes, ratty black coat, past dangling gauze to the bandaged face of Darkman. He surveys the cavernous interior. A spotted cat meows at his feet. He reaches down to stroke it, and the cat scratches him and runs off with a shriek. Long shot of Darkman as he looks about the place, satisfied.
Home.
Cut 2. Deep in the ground, a flashlight clicks on, revealing an elaborate system of high-voltage cylinders. Darkman carefully connects one end with the insulated cord to the metal base to one of the cylinders. Darkman's bandaged hand throws a switch. A single bulb flicks on at the far rear of the warehouse, casting Darkman's face in half in light, half in shadow. With a skeletal claw, he strokes his bandaged chin.
All I need is one clear picture.
He moves to a salvaged photo album. As he flips through the pages, we see that most of the photographs are bubbled with charcoal. The few that aren't show Peyton's face only partially, one cut off by someone's shoulder and under by the frame of the picture. The last picture shows Julie on his shoulders, laughing, covering Peyton's eyes with her hands. Peyton throws the album against the wall. He turns back to the original burned photo.
This'll have to do.
Dissolve 2. Interior warehouse night. Our view moves across the slummy version of Dr. Peyton Westlake's lab, reassembled by Darkman. Darkman slides the charred photo of himself through the input slot of the computer. On the screen, it appears as a line drawing of the photograph. As Peyton punches in the information, a holograph of Peyton's face materializes in a slightly scorched glass cylinder, resolving in sync to the image on the computer screen. The face is partially charred, malformed, like the photograph, except in 3 dimensions. Darkman taps in the data that appears on the screen. Extrapolate left lower quadrant C to lower quadrant D, extrapolate quadrant F to quadrant E, ignore light variables, scales, etc. The computer hums and beeps, and the screen blanks and the following information appears. Reconstruction will take 71 hours and 57 minutes. Our view curves up to the holograph. Before our very eyes, it changes slightly, growing imperceptibly more detailed, sharper. Dissolve to Darkman, preparing a batch of liquid skin. He peers down the microscope, one hand holding something just off a frame. Darkman lifts his head and sniffs at a wisp of smoke. Camera pans as he glances to his outstretched hand. Bony fingers poke through the bandages as he gently swirls a test tube of liquid skin over a Bunsen burner. He has failed to notice that his hand is burning. Darkman pulls his hand away from the flame and studies the smoldering digits. He's shocked by his lack of normal human sensation. Quietly.
My hands. They took my hands.
He sits on the lab stool, studying his charred palms in the dark. As more time passes, the image of Peyton's face is growing more clear. The computer screen beside it reads, reconstruction will take 61 hours and 11 minutes. Camera pans to Darkman, sitting on the lab stool in the exact same position, still studying his gnarled knuckles. Sunlight pours into the lab through a small ceiling window. He turns quickly and faces the cat. A small sound bubbles up from his ravaged larynx, a deep, awful laugh. Cut to exterior Onassis Coney Island restaurant, day. Compressed shot through the window of a restaurant. The extreme telephoto shows us Pauly eating a chili dog at a booth. He's looking for someone. Skip and Guzman enter the restaurant and take the seats across from him. Guzman slides a briefcase under the table to Pauly. Pauly downs the butt end of the chili dog and washes it down with a Malox chaser. He takes the briefcase and exits. Click. Freeze on all 3 as they exit in black and white. Reverse exterior alley, day. Darkman, disguised as a bagman in the alley across the street from the restaurant, peering through a camera. In his POV, Skip and Guzman going in one direction, Pauly in another. Click, freeze the moment. Click, Pauly moving away carrying the briefcase. Click, he looks to his right, and click, he looks to his left. Close-up on Pauly's hand swinging slightly as it carries the briefcase. The loud click of the shutter is heard on a matching shot to Pauly's hand, well back to reveal it's now a photograph soaking in a shallow tray of developing solution. The cat enters frame atop a lab table. Camera tracks with it as it passes between rows of photographs of Pauly's face and hands, which hang dripping from a clothesline. On other clothesline areas are pictures of all the other gang members, taken at different places and times. The cat leaps straight through Darkman's lab. The cat leaps straight through the turning holograph of Peyton's head. The features now more defined, more recognizable. The cat lands on another lab table, where it suddenly halts and arches its spotted back as a bandaged hand sets down an opened can of tuna. The cat moves to the tuna and looks up fearfully. The bandaged hand moves close to pet the cat. The cat scratches the hand and spits. The hand withdraws. The cat eats the tuna warily. Computer input slot. Front and side photos of Pauly's hand are sucked into a second charred and patched up computer. On the computer screen, a line drawing of Pauly's hand is being filled in with contours and subtle shading. Within the slightly scorched glass cylinder, a hologram of Pauly's hand flickers to life, turning in sync with the one on the computer screen. The salvaged biopress, the synthetic skin, is sprayed on the surface of the press. The pins of the press rise to the computer-determined heights, molding the hardened synthetic skin. Darkman's bandaged hands enter the frame as he unwraps the bandages. His used hand bandages form a pile atop the lab table. A forceps removes what looks like a wet, flesh-colored surgical glove from the biopress. The nasty bone digits of Darkman's hand snake into the glove. Darkman smooths the wrinkled synthetic skin and holds up his new hand. It's a flawless imitation of Pauly's. He raises it to his eyes. They shine fiercely. Darkman's new hand begins unraveling the bandages that cover his head. The cat is looking up from a defensive crouch. Back arch starts to back away. The computer keyboard. One Pauly hand and one singed skeleton claw typed together on the keyboard. The sound of bones striking plastic is strange and unnerving. On the computer monitor, a line drawing of Pauly's head appears. It turns into a matching close shot of the real Pauly in his bed, sleeping. A shadow passes over him. A gloved hand presses a chloroformed handkerchief over his mouth and nose. He struggles. Off screen, the alarm clock rings. As Pauly sinks into a deep sleep, the bell winds down. The gloved hand removes the chloroform from his face. The only sound is the ticking of the clock. We pull back to reveal that we're in Pauly's bedroom. Dawn. The bandaged figure of the Darkman stands over an unconscious Pauly. Darkman removes a suitcase from the closet. He packs it with Pauly's clothes, latches it shut. From his ratty black overcoat, he removes 2 first-class airline tickets. He places them atop the suitcase. Interior Pauly's bathroom day. The mummified Darkman is reflected in the mirror. He carefully unwraps the bandages from his face. The face beneath is Pauly's. Just a little more perfect than it should be. The skin a little tighter, the complexion a little better. Darkman Pauly pulls the stopwatch from his pocket and starts it. Digital stopwatch, and it clicks off the seconds. Darkman Pauly pockets the watch and smiles into the mirror. He opens the medicine cabinet and splashes a handful of Pauly's cologne. Cut to interior Onassis Coney Island restaurant day. Darkman Pauly sits alone in the booth. He checks the artificial skin on his hand, then glances at the stopwatch. It reads 35 minutes. He pockets the watch as Skip and Guzman enter. They take seats across from him. Skip is already angry. Look, Durant wants to know where Rick is. He's really hot about it. Really hot. Don't ask me why. The old man really likes Rick. You know where he is? He's looking at Darkman Pauly. Darkman Pauly shrugs an exaggerated, how would I know? Guzman is too angry to notice.
Durant pissed me off. How the hell do we know where Rick is? What are we, the babysitters?
He places the briefcase on the floor and is about to slide it across, but hesitates. He eyes Darkman Pauly suspiciously.
You okay, Pauly? You're looking funny.
Darkman Pauly shrugs, reaches into his pocket, pulls out a bottle of Malox, and takes a slug. Guzman slides the briefcase across the floor to Darkman Pauly. Darkman Pauly, without saying a word, takes the briefcase and exits. What's with them? Cut to interior Pauly's bedroom. Who knows? Pauly blinks several times, stares quizzically around him, looking confused. Pauly's POV, his own bedroom, blurry, spinning slightly. As the room starts to settle, crash. The door is kicked off its hinges, revealing Guzman. Pauly is sitting up in bed. Although he's just waking up, he's dressed in a suit and tie. Pauly touches his clothes, then looks quizzically up at Guzman. Guzman lifts Pauly from the bed and shoves him into a chair. Pauly looks up to see Durant glaring down at him.
Pauly, we've been very concerned about you.
Pauly doesn't have a clue, but the display of muscle isn't lost on him. He clutches at his sore head and moans.
Hey, Mr. Durant. I must overslept. I'm sorry. I guess I missed the pickup, huh?
Where's the money, Pauly?
What money? I didn't make the pickup.
Durant crosses to the suitcase and picks up one of the airline tickets. His smile is strained.
Rio in first class. How delightful. Ah, and one for Rick. Well, this explains his disappearance.
Durant glances to Guzman, who opens Pauly's packed suitcase.
Hey, I don't know nothing about that.
Where's the money, Pauly?
Well, money, I swear to God, Mr. Durant, I didn't make the pickup. I've been right here sleeping, I swear to God.
Durant tucks the tickets into Pauly's jacket.
Well, Pauly, I wouldn't want you to miss your flight.
Exterior high-rise day. Crash. Pauly crashes through the window on the 23rd floor. Exterior high-rise day. His body twists in the air, hurtling towards the ground, falling, trying to find the air to shriek as the skyscraper blurs past, and Pauly's POV, the sidewalk rushes up with increasing velocity. Exterior street day. Pauly's body hits the sidewalk with a thud. His dead eyes stare out at us, bewildered. A shocked woman looks up from Pauly's dead face to from a nearby park bench. The woman's shocked POV, panning from dead Pauly to living Pauly, Darkman, who sits there watching calmly. The woman shrieks and shrieks. She has to be restrained by the crowd. Darkman Pauly pulls away from the crowd of gawkers gathering around the body. His eyes widen in alarm. His synthetic cheek is melting where the bright sunlight hits it. A bubbling skin blister cracks open and smokes. His hand covers the blister. He pulls out the stopwatch at his pocket. It reads 98 minutes. Pauly Darkman, still clutching the briefcase of cash, jogs into the cool dark of the alleyway. A thin wisp of smoke trails behind him as he disappears into the darkness. Cut to interior Julie's apartment. Julie is shrugging off her coat to reveal a stunning evening dress. She heads across the room towards a rolling bar.
I want to thank you for a lovely evening, Lewis. It's been a long time since I've been able to really enjoy myself. To forget. Can I offer you a drink?
We pan the room to reveal Strack just inside the front door.
Thank you. Whiskey. Neat.
He takes off his coat.
Would it be all right if I used your telephone?
It's on the etagere.
Strack has already found it and is dialing.
Friends, Lewis Strack here. What did gold close at in Zurich? Interesting. Make a play for 50,000 Kugerins when the market opens up in the morning.
Strack hangs up the phone and turns towards Julie.
I haven't felt this alive since the days of silver puts and calls. Of course, you're too young to remember that. I guess I'm just an over-the-hill financier trying to recapture a few moments of his glory days.
Julie hands Strack a drink.
Don't be childish, Lewis. It's an unbecoming to fish for compliments.
Strack laughs good-naturedly.
I like that. I like that fine. You don't let me get away with anything.
He sighs and sits down on a sofa, sips his drink, and looks across at Julie.
You know, as much as I'd like to think differently, I suppose I'm not above the occasional childish bid for attention.
Julie smiles.
Like anyone else.
Like anyone else, indeed. In all respects, it's difficult. Sometimes, being in a position of power, people defer to you. People tell you what they think, what they want to hear. In short, they rob you of your humanity. But you'll accuse me of pleading for sympathy again.
No, I understand.
Strack turns away, setting his drink on a coaster. He notices Peyton's gift. A music box. He opens it up. The Love in the Dark theme plays. Julie and Strack listen. Julie is affected by it. She sets down the drink.
Were you ever married, Lewis?
Yeah, once upon a time. Married and in love. Deeply, deeply in love.
What happened?
I lost her.
I'm sorry.
Strack strains to conceal the bitterness of his grief.
Private aircraft over the Smokies. Painless. Quick. Utterly pointless. You can fight a disease. Another man could fight that too. But this,
Quietly within himself.
I don't like things I can't fight.
Their eyes meet, both united by loss.
Must have been a terrible time. I wonder how you would have understood about me been very patient and very kind.
Strack smiles warmly. He takes her hand.
God helps us when there's no more room in this world for a little kindness.
Pull back through the window of Julie's apartment as Strack draws Julie into an embrace to reveal Darkman hidden in the shadowy bushes. His face is flooded with pain. Dissolved to interior Darkman's warehouse. Skeletal fingers impatiently tap 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 upon a lab table. Cut to an eye as it fills the screen. The pupil a black abyss, the capillaries red rivers. Synthetic skin molecules enlarged 1,000,000 times, configured on an agar protoplasm bath. Cut to the eye, floating, the pupil darting nervously about.
Okay. Okay, remain stable, remain.
Synthetic skin molecules fragment. Digital stopwatch reads 99 minutes. Skeletal fingers halt in mid-tap. Camera pulls back to reveal Darkman frozen above the microscope. Cat meows in fear. Darkman looks into his carbonized claws in disgust. They clutch at his bandaged skull. He stands suddenly and shouts into the empty warehouse.
I've been robbed. Those bastards took everything.
The cat arches its back in fear.
She couldn't even bear to look at me.
Darkman spins sharply out to the cat, the vein in his temple pulsating.
What am I, some kind of circus freak?
The cat bounds away in a cry, seeking shelter behind a crate. Darkman calls after it.
Is that it? Maybe I should be wearing some funny little hat.
He does an angry jig for the cat.
Pay $5. See the dancing freak.
The cat pokes its head out to watch. Darkman rips a water pipe from the wall with a terrible wrenching sound. Water gushes out. Darkman shatters crates with the pipe and is about to swing again, but halts as he sees his reflection in the growing puddle. Darkman's reflection in the puddle. It's the image of a madman. Darkman staggers to a post, his bandaged face caught half in the light and shadow, a man at war with inner demons. He slams his head against the post.
I've got
Bam.
to get
Bam.
control.
Bam. He takes in a deep breath and concentrates on his hand. He forces it to unclench.
I've got to keep a lid on it.
The pipe falls. Darkman moves to a cooler light.
Control the rage. Analyze. Wait. Think objectively. I'm a scientist. I'm a scientist.
He stares at the hundreds of lab sheets, the piles of discarded petri dishes. Darkman with less conviction.
I'm a scientist.
Suddenly, beep, beep, beep. Darkman turns. Camera swishes at the end of the lab. The computer screen flashes a message. Reconstitution complete. At the same time, the hologram of Peyton's head ceases to revolve. Every element of Peyton's face is exactly as we remember it. He smiles charmingly at Darkman. Darkman moves towards his old self, staring in wonder. Love in the Dark theme comes back to the soundtrack as we dissolve to an exterior cemetery day. Julie walks along a quiet path. The music continues and Julie stops. She stares misty-eyed at Peyton's marker. Julie reaches down and places a wreath of flowers on it. Her eyes tear.
Julie.
She spins to face the intruder into her quiet grief. It's Peyton, his face restored, the Peyton she knew, smiling warmly at her. Julie, staring. She takes a step towards him. She stops, immobilized. Her jaw drops, her eyes roll up into her head, and she faints. Quick fade to black. Quick fade back in, as Peyton is gently slapping the side of Julie's face. Gradually, Julie regains consciousness.
Peyton? Peyton?
Julie.
Is it really?
I'm sorry. I didn't know how to tell you.
I thought you were dead.
I was in a burn ward, a coma, dead to the world. I was burned, bad.
You look the same. You look fine.
I am the same. I am fine.
He glances at his watch. He grows intense. Darkman stares through his blue eyes.
I needed to see you. I needed to know if things could be the same with us.
Of course they can, but I don't understand where.
Please, Julie, I'll tell you everything. I just need a little time.
Peyton's eyes widen in alarm. He turns one side of his face sharply away from Julie. His synthetic cheek is melting where the bright sunlight has burnt through the dapple of graveyard trees. The bubbling skin blister cracks open and smokes. His hand covers it.
Hold me, Peyton. Hold me and never let go. I've been so unhappy. I want you to hold me forever.
Peyton is lurching to his feet.
Sweetheart, I'm sorry.
Julie is stunned, bewildered.
Peyton.
Peyton is already hot-footing it away from the graveyard, one hand clumping to his face, plunging towards the soothing darkness of the woods. Cut to interior a bedroom. The lights are romantically dim. Peyton and Julie move into each other's arms.
Peyton, it's like you were never gone. I'm happy again, and it's like that time in between never happened.
Never happened. It was a bad dream.
They kiss passionately. Love in the Dark comes on. Our view circles the lovers as we pass around Julie over to Peyton, who is no longer Peyton, but transformed into Darkman. His horrible scarred face presses against Julie's. Julie's eyes open. She reels back and lets out an ear-piercing scream of primal terror. Cut to Darkman, bolting up from his sleep, sweat through his facial bandages, the vein on his temple throbbing, eyes livid as a beast's. Cut to interior Durant's house. Professional hands busy performing the process of taxidermy. Camera pans up to Durant, cradling a telephone to his shoulder, talking as he works.
It's Durant. Robert G. Durant.
He grasps an off-screen object with tweezers and removes it from a formaldehyde solution. He pats it dry with a white cloth.
Get Rudy on the phone. Uh-huh. Rudy, listen. No. Just shut up and listen. You get a little gift from Chinatown today. No? Well, that money that Pauly took is really stinging my ass. No. We do it my way. You tell Hung Fat that I'm coming by tomorrow to make the pickup personally. Either he coughs green or he becomes part of my collection.
View on Durant's hands. He takes an object in a box he places an object in a box lined with red velvet. He takes a long, admiring look. We only get a glimpse at a collection of 16 fingers, professionally preserved and arranged in neat little rows, some still with rings. He closes the cover of the box. Exterior Durant's home night. A shadowy form lurks by a telephone pole by the front of the house. Phone junction box. An electronic bug attached to one of the terminals gives off a flashing red light. A wire from the bug leads to a charred Walkman tape recording. Its microcassette spins. Filtered through it, we hear Durant's phone conversation continue.
It would be a nice addition.
You want me to be at your place around 8:30?
That would be just fine for me.
We are tracking off of the cassette up to a long cord that leads to a pair of headsets worn by Darkman. His eyes glisten through the slits of his bandages. A set of hands enter frame and crack him viciously across the head. He sprawls backwards, caught off guard. A switchblade is shoved against his bandaged throat.
Hey, shithead, give up the radio and the money.
Like lightning, a skeletal claw lashes out. A bone pincer snaps closed on the mugger's wrist. The pincer twists sharply, and we hear an awful crack of the mugger's wrist shattering. Darkman's eyes gleam like a shark as it bites. Mugger number 1 screams, dropping the switchblade to the pavement. Darkman turns to Mugger number 2 as he pulls down the bandages from around his mouth, revealing a terrible maw of black and crooked teeth attached to a lipless jawbone. It jerks, and the words come out.
For your life.
The muggers flee in fear. Darkman contorts his face into a ghastly interpretation of a smile and slips back into the shadows. Cut to exterior outdoor cafe day. Peyton and Julie sit at a table drinking coffee and sharing a slice of pie.
Boy, that was weird. But why do you have to stay away from? Or I'm sorry, but why do you have to stay at this burn center? You can stay at my place now.
Julie's hand closes around Peyton's, real skin on synthetic skin.
No, it's best for now till all the kinks have been smoothed out.
Kinks?
Peyton glances at his watch. 97 minutes.
Peyton, I still don't understand. Why didn't you come back to see me before now?
Oh, well, it's like I told you. The burns left some scars, and I was ashamed. Afraid. I was afraid that you wouldn't want me anymore.
Of course I still want you.
But what if I was burned? So horribly burned that you couldn't stand to look at me. Couldn't stand to have me touch you. What then?
Well, if that was the case, I don't know, but why even ask me that? The point is, you're fine. You're back, just like always.
She smiles. Peyton is filled with the warmth of being accepted and wanted once again. vibrantly.
Yeah, I am back, aren't I? Just like always.
Interior warehouse night. We pan past the lab table, cluttered with empty pizza boxes and a tangled mass of used bandages. From off-screen, we hear Durant's recorded voice.
That would be just fine for me.
The cat sleeps. We hear the garbled chatter of audio tape being rewound. We're panning across the Walkman, which is wired to the computer. The tape stops, then, as programmed, plays again.
That would be just fine for me.
We pan past the back of Darkman's head. The bandages have been removed. Although his face is not visible, the singed, hairless back of his skull is. It's not a pretty sight. The Darkman swabs a thick paste, Sylvadine burn ointment upon his skeletal fingers.
That would be just fine for me.
The Darkman switches off the desk lamp and removes a mask from a black light-proof box. He examines it, returns the mask to the bag, then slips it into his coat. The camera arcs around to see the bottom half of his skeletal face.
That would be...
Click. Darkman stops the tape mid-sentence and in his own hideous charred mandible, finishes it.
Just fine for me.
The impression is good, although a little thick. The Darkman strokes his jawbone thoughtfully. Cut to a black and white view through a rotating security camera. We are looking at a convenience store from the high angle of a security camera. The harshly lit store has aisles of Cheese Whiz, Twinkies, shampoos, and various other things not found in nature. A digital readout of the clock at the bottom reads 7:36 a.m. Durant enters the frame holding a stack of frozen pizzas. He sets them on a counter before a lone clerk.
Want a bag for that?
That would be just fine for me.
The clerk bags the pizzas as Durant pulls out a revolver from his suit coat. The clerk takes a fearful step back.
Hey, take it easy, buddy.
Name ain't Buddy. It's Durant.
He waits for the video camera to pan to him to stop. He cheats in towards the lens for a good, clear close-up that fills the screen.
Robert G. Durant.
The interior, Durant's house. Durant, matching the previous shot, except this is in color. He's speaking to someone just off camera.
Yeah, I'm Robert G. Durant.
The camera is pulling back to reveal that he's standing in the open doorway of his home, facing two cops.
But I'm in a hurry. Got a meeting at 9.
You're gonna be late.
As Cop 2 slaps a pair of cuffs on Durant. Cut to interior, midnight blue continental day. Trumayne is driving. We pan from him to Rudy, to a gold cigar trimmer snipping a cigar. We follow it to the mouth of Robert G. Durant. His temple pulsates faintly. Exterior Chinese restaurant day. A large sign above the entrance reads, The Mandarin. The Continental pulls up to the curb. Trumayne waits in the car as Guzman and Darkman Durant step out into the bright morning sunlight. Darkman Durant hesitates, calculating the intensity of the sunlight. He sneaks a glance at his watch. It reads 90 minutes. Darkman follows Guzman into the restaurant. Cut to exterior police station. The real Durant moves angrily down the steps. His mouthpiece, Marvin Katz, accompanies him.
I had to get it all on film. I almost didn't get him to post bail.
Just keep him out of my hair.
Hey, where you going?
The real Durant jumps into a waiting taxi cab and bells at the driver.
The Mandarin. Fast.
The cab peels out. Cut to interior Mandarin day. Hung fat, dressed in a finely tailored white linen suit and smoking a long brown cigarette, smiles in greeting. Wabat, so good of you to favor me with your venerated presence. Please honor me by seating yourself in my shabby chair. Darkman Durant remains impassively standing. Or do me the greater honor of remaining on your feet.
The money.
The money, yes, Wabat. How I tremble with shame, how I hide my face. He elaborately does so with his hands. Guzman studies Durant Darkman with uncertainty. After another beat of uncomfortable silence, he decides to begin for his boss.
We no here for the bullshit. We here to pick up the money, and that's what we do.
Darkman glances up in the harsh fluorescent light. He runs a hand across the artificial flesh of his face, checking for signs of decomposition. He sneaks a look at his watch. 93 minutes.
How I regret having to burden you with my miserable difficulties. I have no money.
Darkman's eyes shift. He was not expecting this. Hong Fat is waiting for an explosion. There is none. Sensing an advantage, he presses on.
The white powder no longer flows in its former volume. All members of the Tong lavish in poverty.
Guzman studies the Darkman hard. How can he tolerate this?
Of all your unworthy servants, Hong Fat is the most destitute.
As if in response to some silent signal, 4 enormous and muscular Chinese men enter and stand, arms crossed in a threatening posture.
Even Hung Fat's own miserable slaves sometimes ignore his wishes and attack those people whom Hung Fat cherished most deeply. Why, but they know nothing of our golden friendship.
Guzman is looking from Hung Fat to Durant Darkman. What's wrong? Why doesn't he do something?
So, until that shining day may it soon come, when I shall once again be able to honor you with bounty, I bid you goodbye. Goodbye, Wabat.
He is shaking his hand, pressing his advantage, invading his personal space, and making a mockery of him.
Wabat, goodbye.
Rudy can't believe his eyes. Darkman, letting Hung Fat pump his hand like an idiot. The Hung Fat drops his hand. It dangles lamely at his side. Darkman walks over to a bamboo chair and slumps. He closes his eyes and sighs. He removes a cigar from his breast pocket. With his eyes closed.
You will bring me the $5 million by the time I finish this cigar.
But Wabat.
Snip. Hong Fat flinches at what he sees. The camera pans at the sound. Darkman has just snipped the cigar to a third of its former size. He lights it and puffs. Hung Fat, his mocking smile disappears as he sees the cigar's glowing tip. It fills the frame. Above, filling the top half of the frame, are Darkman's evil eyes through the rippling heat of the cigar. Their intensity pierces the shroud of smoke and burns holes into Hung Fat's soul. Hung Fat nods dumbly, without a trace of an accent. Okay, Bob. You win. Exterior street. Durant leaps from his taxi, stalled in morning traffic. He pushes his way roughly through the crowd towards Hung Fat's Mandarin cuisine at the end of the block. Cut to interior Mandarin cuisine. Darkman's cigar is extinguished in an ashtray as a briefcase is set down alongside it, placed by a burly Chinese warrior who takes a step back alongside Hung Fat. Durant Darkman grabs the case. As he exits the office with Guzman, he sneaks a look at the digital stopwatch. It reads 97 minutes. Click, 98 minutes. Durant, Darkman, and Guzman head for the revolving doors. Durant, Darkman's face, a tiny skin blister has bubbled up in his light-sensitive facial mask. His hand comes up to smooth it out.
Hey, you!
Durant Darkman spins, caught. A burly Chinese bodyguard approaches him quickly, pointing at Durant Darkman's face.
Hold it!
He reaches into a pocket and pulls out Durant's monogrammed lighter, which he holds to Durant Darkman.
Your lighter.
Cut to exterior Mandarin restaurant, the real Durant, as he runs up to Trumayne and Smiley, who are waiting in the Continental.
Where is he?
Where's who?
Guzman.
I thought it was you.
Real Durant sprints for the restaurant. Cut to interior Mandarin restaurant. Durant Darkman clutching the briefcase as he follows Guzman through the revolving doors. Guzman exits onto the street, but as Durant Darkman revolves through the door, he slams suddenly to a halt. In the next chamber of the revolving door, he sees the real Durant, whose disbelieving face moves closer to get a better look. The two Durants, dressed identically, stare at each other through the glass in eerie confrontation. Guzman stands upon the sidewalk, gaping in wonder.
Pues míos, aquí, papa.
Durant Darkman shoves the door open, dislodging the stunned real Durant. He rotates past Guzman and points to the real Durant, revolving behind him.
Shoot him.
Guzman draws his gun and waits, sweating. The real Durant, who shouldn't have said that previous line, spins past the incredulous Guzman, who stands ready to shoot him. Real Durant points to the Durant behind him.
Shoot him.
There you go. The revolving doors whirl faster. Round he goes. Guzman nods, recalibrates his orders, and stands ready to fire. Durant Darkman spins past him.
Shoot him!
Guzman doesn't know who to plug. Durant leaps out onto the street. A second Durant leaps out onto the street. They face each other. Who's who? It's impossible to tell. Only the briefcase of cash distinguishes one from the other. The two Durants go directly for each other's throats. The briefcase falls to the ground. They call to Guzman.
Don't just stand there.
Real Durant's face is spun out of frame and replaced with Durant Darkman's exact replica.
Do something!
Guzman waves his gun back and forth from one Durant to the other. Durant slams Durant's face against a brick wall of the restaurant. One Durant falls to the pavement, clutching his head, groggy. Guzman races an uncertain gun to the standing Durant. Standing Durant backhands Guzman viciously across the face. Crack.
Son of a bitch set me up with the cops and you practically hand him the cash.
Guzman stands warily as the standing Durant picks up the briefcase.
What the hell you looking at? Shoot the bastard.
Guzman retrains his gun on the fallen Durant, who covers his face. But before he fires, he gives a final glance at the standing Durant. The sunward side of his face is bubbling and blistering, revealing glimpses of a skull beneath.
What are you, deaf?
He notes a wisp of smoke and knows the jig is up. He slams the briefcase into Guzman's face, thwack, knocking him to the ground. The dark man sprints down the sidewalk through the crowd. Real Durant climbs to his feet, holding his bleeding head. He backhands Guzman across the face. Crack. He grabs Guzman's glove and runs after his alter ego. Guzman woozily pulls a snub-nosed 45 from his ankle holster and gamely follows. Durant Darkman races down the street, leaving a thin trail of yellow smoke. He halts at a busy intersection. Cars speed past. No way to cross. He turns at the sound of gunshots. Blammity-blam. Real Durant, gun in hand and closing fast. A cart filled with crates is wheeled directly in his path. Real Durant gracefully leaps atop the crates and, never letting up his rain of fire, springs from them. While in freefall, he ejects the spent cartridge and snaps in a fresh clip. He begins firing. Blammity-blam, blammity-blam, blammity-blam. Coin-operated newsstand next to Darkman explodes in a shower of glass. We hear the frightened screams of pedestrians as they scatter. Darkman's face is in the process of cellular fragmentation. His mask emits tiny jets of blue flame. He runs for a subway entrance. Durant and Guzman follow after Darkman. They are joined by a gun-toting Trumayne. All three of them fire at once. Blam! Interior subways. Darkman takes a bullet to the arm. Although he can't feel it, the impact knocks him down the concrete stairs. He touches the wound of his arm and his hand comes away bloody. Close shot on Darkman Durant. His smoking face reveals no pain, only puzzlement. He vaults over the turnstile and races down the platform. Interior subway. Durant, Rudy, and Trumayne note the blood as they reload.
Got you.
They jump the turnstiles with guns drawn and look about for Darkman. Commuters scatter. Durant spots something lying on the platform. He picks it up. The thing is slimy and translucent. Durant holds it in the light. It's the mask of his own face. It smolders and melts, and he flings it away. The melting facial mask sticks to the tiled wall of the subway next to Guzman and Trumayne. Durant's nose and cheeks melt together into a sickening goo. Guzman and Trumayne step back, sickened.
Me cago de Dios. I cannot believe this shit.
Durant notes drops of blood which lead off the platform and down to a dark subway tunnel.
We ain't going in here, are we?
Shocker. Durant pulls a tiny pen light from his pocket and leaps from the platform down into the track bed. Interior subway tunnel. Dark, dank, spooky. Durant carries the pen light. Guzman and Trumayne reluctantly follow.
Damn it, man. We follow some bidejo without a face to do a damn hole in the ground.
Durant holds up his hand, commanding silence as they come to an intersection of subway tunnels. Both lead to darkness. They listen, but all is quiet. They speak in hushed tones.
What?
You go that way. We'll take this one.
Trumayne doesn't look too thrilled by the prospect of being alone in the tunnels.
Alone?
No, take a fucking squad of Marines with you.
Durant tosses in the pen light hard. Casually, he lights a cigar and continues forward. Trumayne watches Durant and Guzman disappear down the tunnel. The sound of their footsteps recede. Trumayne's breathing is shallow. He loosens his necktie and unbuttons his collar. He takes a breath.
Okay.
He advances silently through the tunnel. Ta-ching! Clang! Trumayne flinches. He points the pen light in the direction of the clanging sound. His POV, an empty wine bottle at his feet, is illuminated. It rolls to a stop against the tunnel wall. He listens. Silence.
Jumpy like Rick.
A faint cough comes from the blackness ahead. Trumayne raises the pen light. The feeble light beam cannot pierce the darkness. Trumayne bends down and picks up the bottle, keeping his fearful eyes in the darkness ahead. The cough again. Trumayne heaves the bottle at the sound. Slow-mo on the wine bottle as it tumbles end over end to the darkness. Trumayne waits for the crash, ready to fire on anything that moves. Blackness. No sound. Trumayne is still waiting, nerves on edge. Where's the crash? The oppressive dark. Trumayne shudders. Something in the darkness has swallowed the bottle. He begins to back out of the tunnel the way he came. He freezes in the center of the tunnel intersection at the sound of footsteps. Clutching on gravel, approaching. He fingers the gun's trigger. Empty tunnels on all sides. The footsteps quicken.
Mr. Durant?
Panicked, Trumayne shines his light in front of him. Empty tunnel. The footsteps come closer, faster.
Guzman?
He jerks the pen light to the tunnel behind him. Nothing. To his right, nothing. To his left, nothing. He's trying to see on all the tunnels at once. He spins desperately, firing into each of them. The gun barrel spits flame. Blam! A tunnel is illuminated by the brilliant flash of the gun. Empty. The light fades. Gun barrel spins and fires. Boom! Trumayne's eyes are lit up. Crazed with fear, the illumination fades. Gun barrel spins and spits sparks. Bam! Another tunnel illuminated. Empty. The light fades. Gun barrel. Blam! The tunnel melting. Darkman illuminated. Unmasked. A split-second flash has caught him pouncing in midair, and for the first time, we see the complete nightmare. Only the upper right quarter of Peyton's face remains intact. Perfect, handsome. But as for the rest, the head is a hairless skull, covered with random bits of scar and char. Without the benefit of gums or lips, the entire length of his teeth are exposed down to the root, connecting crookedly to a jawbone. One ear remains intact, the other a burnt hole. Only the rudimentary cartilage forms the nose. But it's the wild eyeballs protruding obscenely from the bone of their sockets that tell the story. There lies madness, a dark river of evil rage. Cut to Durant and Guzman. They hear Trumayne's throaty scream, then a silence. They run towards the sound. When they arrive, they see only the pen light laying down upon the track bed. Its dull glow shines upon wet walls of the tunnels. Nearby, they find the gun and one of Trumayne's shoes. Guzman's eyes look like saucers. Durant even looks a little scared.
Oh shit, man. What did he do, man? Eat him?
From the tunnel ahead, footsteps approach. The two men squint, attempting to pierce the blackness.
Trumayne?
The footsteps grow louder, closer.
Hey, amigo, that you?
From the darkness, a figure emerges and runs at them. Durant and Guzman raise their rods and blast. Blam, blam. The dark figure lurches and collapses upon the ties. The shaft of light reveals it to be Trumayne, gagged with his hands tied behind his back, a wild look of terror in his dead eyes. Durant and Guzman gape stupidly at the body before them. They glance fearfully from one another through the fog of gun smoke. Durant looks around, gets control, loads a fresh clip into his gun with an echoing snap. Guzman waves his arms in surrender.
Oh. Goodbye. That's it. I'm out of here.
Durant grabs him.
Where the hell are you going?
Guzman pulls free. Woo! Durant looks wildly over his shoulder as he runs for his life. The train, 2,000 tons of unforgiving steel, is barreling down upon them, 100 feet away and closing, 30 feet, 10. The front wheels of the train roar atop the track. Durant's feet slower moving, enter view just ahead. Tracking with Darkman's bony jaw, lit by the blue sparks as it emits an evil laugh. The tunnel walls zip past in the background. Durant, as he runs, the train gigantic behind him. Durant's face is stretched in panic. The cigar is still in his mouth between clenched teeth. He fixes on something ahead. His POV, a section of raised subway track in the middle of the track, a shallow depression. Durant's feet running only a shoe's length ahead of the sparking wheel. On Durant, as he desperately leaps for the depression of the tracks, it appears to go right down under the train. Following Durant as he hugs the shallow depression. Is he low enough? The underside of the train comes roaring over us. Boom! The train begins its long roar past, and we hear an agonized scream that is either the train or Durant in some ungodly combination. The train tunnel wall is illuminated from a flash of light, white, black, white, from the light pouring on the train, passing train windows. Train wheels throw blue sparks into the darkness. The long subway train rolls in the distance. Its rumble fades. Quiet. Durant's cigar smolders on the tracks. Durant himself rises quietly into frame. His suit is still clean. He appears remarkably unscathed. He runs a hand through his hair, turns and walks slowly along the tracks. That's when we see his back. The train has raked off the fabric of his suit and pants, exposing his bare back and buttocks. Somehow maintaining his dignity, Durant picks up the smoldering cigar from the tracks. He takes a puff and moves off. Cut to interior warehouse. Darkman sits with the phone, faintly ringing against his ear. Something frantic about him, the vein on his forehead faintly beating. While he waits for the other party to answer, he cuts into the painless wound on his arm with a surgical instrument, digging for something. Finally, Julie's voice comes on.
Julie.
We cut from Darkman's ravaged monster face to Julie, beautiful as ever.
Peyton, where have you been? Why haven't you called?
Back to the monster face.
Can I see you?
Clink. The bullet is dislodged from the wound and drops on the table. Cut to people screaming. Various close shots of screaming patrons on a tilt-a-whirl, their faces hideously distorted by wind, centrifugal force, and their mouths stretched wide to scream. Merry-go-round horses, various close shots of leering horses bobbing up and down. We're at a carnival. Peyton, laughing, his face restored, walking away down the midway, one arm draped over Julie's shoulder. She laughs with him, and Peyton glances at his watch.
Put away the watch or I'll think you don't like spending time with me anymore. Oh, Peyton, let's spend the whole day together. The whole week.
I've got to tell you, Julie. I've got to tell you something about me, how I've changed.
Julie turns.
In the fire,
A voice off screen rises above the general noise.
See the mutant man, half mutant, half beast. Witness the prodigy of science with your own eyes.
Peyton whirls around. Peyton's POV of a sideshow parker soliciting pedestrians to a sideshow.
What?
Never mind.
What's going on, Peyton? What are you keeping from me?
Peyton stares at Julie. He can't bring himself to tell her.
Come on. I'm going to win you the biggest, fuzziest, pinkest animal doll on that rack. Something you'll be truly embarrassed to own, and then I've got to run.
They have stopped in front of a booth where softballs get tossed at bottle pyramids. Peyton lays down $1 and is handed 3 balls.
Why do you always have to run?
Peyton looks at the pyramid, avoiding her look. He throws the first ball and misses.
I have my treatment. I'm not 100% cured yet, but I soon will be.
He throws the second ball, misses.
Can I take you back to the burn center?
Peyton's vein begins to throb faintly.
No, please. I don't want you to see me there. I don't want you to think of me as an invalid or some kind of a freak.
On that word, he throws the last ball with great force and the pyramid explodes. Peyton, breathing heavily, takes a moment to collect himself, then says quietly to the booth attendant,
The pink elephant, please.
The board attendant, a cigarette dangling from his lower lip, shakes his head. Sorry, bud. Don't count if you ain't standing behind that line.
I was behind the line.
Not hardly. Peyton's vein pulses.
I was standing right here, next to my girlfriend. Now, the pink elephant, if you please.
No way. Julie tugs at his sleeve.
Oh, shit. Go away. Sorry. Peyton, it doesn't matter.
Peyton is fighting to contain his rage, in clipped words between gasps for breath.
It matters. I want a pink elephant for my girlfriend.
Peyton, it's okay.
Get lost, buddy. Brief cuts of people screaming on the tilt-a-whirl, merry-go-round horses bobbing up and down, calliope music gets louder and louder. Peyton shaking under the pressure of contained rage, his vein bulging, throbbing under his breath.
The elephant, quickly.
The attendant unwisely pushes 2 fingers into Peyton's chest. We rocket into a close shot of the offending digits. From off screen, we hear the attendant's voice. You heard me, weirdo. Get lost. Crack. The counter dissolves into a million fissures, just as the stuffed animals on the shelves above. Peyton's face twitches violently, veins swollen to bursting. The camera races into an eyeball to find people screaming, horses bobbing, clown laughing, doing a jig in a funny hat, rocking back to Peyton screaming. The skin blister bubbling on his cheeks, the attendant's fingers against Peyton's chest. Peyton grabs them and crack, breaks them. The attendant screams. Peyton screams with him. Julie screams as well. Peyton reaches for the attendant, lifts him into the air, and hurls him into another pyramid, which collapses. A fuzzy pink elephant is yanked violently from the shelf, and Peyton shoves it at Julie in a voice hoarse with rage.
Hike it!
Another skin blister opens.
Sorry, my mouse is being weird. Peyton, no!
Hike it!
His face is starting to send off wisps of smoke.
Please.
Hike the fucking elephant!
She's looking at him, frozen in horror. His face is erupting into boils, which simmer and pop, giving off bursts of smoke. Peyton stares at her, rage ebbs, his eyes become haunted, hoarsely.
Forgive me.
He runs off, the fuzzy pink elephant still clasped, forgotten beneath one arm. Julie runs after him.
Peyton!
Exterior street. Darkman disappears around a corner, trailing thin wisps of smoke. Exterior warehouse alley. Darkman rushes down a darkened alley, unlocks the warehouse door, and rushes inside. Camera pans to Julie, who has seen it all from the shadows. Interior warehouse, there's a horrible ripping sound. Darkman is destroying something, flailing his arms. A creak. Darkman's eyes roll towards the noise. He steps back into the shadows. Interior warehouse. Julie slips through the warehouse window. She's confronted by rack upon rack of clothing, shoes, body padding, and wigs. The place looks like a wardrobe room of a major studio.
Peyton?
No answer. She cautiously advances. Her eyes fall upon something that makes her gasp. The pink elephant, ripped to shreds, its white stuffing all over the place. She moves towards a Peyton moves towards a darkened corner of the lab.
Peyton? I need to talk to you.
She halts at the sight in front of her.
Dear God.
Darkman's lab. Beams of light cut through the darkness to reveal the charred holographic imagers, computers, the rebuild biopress, and all sit atop wooden crates. Beyond, 2 lab tables made of old doors, which hang suspended from the ceiling by chains. Atop them, test tubes and beakers of liquid skin. In the place of the Bunsen burner, there sits a propane torch. The salvaged bucket seat of a '66 Ford Mustang serves as a lab chair. The spotted cat eats from a discarded pizza box. Despite its eerie nature, the layout and feel of the lab is hauntingly familiar. Julie backs away, frightened, right into the limp and wrinkled head of Peyton hanging off from a hook. Julie, her hand trembles as she lifts the eyeless mask into frame. She forces herself to examine it closely. Her revulsion gives way to pity. She brings it into a beam of light. Julie's hand holds the mask, accompanied by the sound of buzzing flies and sizzling skin as blisters boil furiously. She drops it with a scream. She steels herself against the computer table. There are tears in her eyes. Trembling, she turns to face the darkness. Darkman presses himself into the shadows.
Peyton.
Darkman turns his head sharply. Only the upper right corner of his face falls into the light. The handsome, undamaged portion.
Why didn't you tell me? If you loved me, why didn't you tell me?
Darkman, shamed to be both a coward and a monster, clutches his bony hand to his skull.
I had no right.
Tears stream down Julie's face, but she's too upset to brush them away. She moves forward.
Coward!
She angrily shoves the computer off the table. It crashes to the ground, sparking.
Do you think it was the face I cared about? Is that how little you think of me? Why didn't you come to see me?
Darkman is shaken by a silent sob. More of his face falls into the light, illuminating leathery neck muscles and hideous bone. Julie looks about the dark and desolate warehouse, the sight of the bandages, the liquid skin, the charred Peyton Julie photograph. Her face softens. She feels Darkman's pain. Quietly.
Would have helped you.
She stares into the shadows a long time without speaking.
But you know I love you, Peyton. No matter what you've become, I'll always love you.
Close on Darkman, his eyes expressing a ray of hope he didn't think possible until now. Off screen, we hear the sound of retreating footsteps.
Julie.
But Julie's gone. Interior Strack's apartment day. Strack, naked except for a monogram bath towel wrapped across his thickening midriff, walks across the plush bedroom of his penthouse apartment. A Mailer symphony plays in the background. He bends to hoist a huge inlaid mahogany chest that stands on a marble table, then, grunting under the strain of the load, staggers back across the room to the king-size bed. With a mighty heave, he tips the contents of the chest out onto the bed, a torrent of gold cougarins, or whatever it is. They wash over the bed, so many that some spill over the sides and clatter to the floor. Strack pauses for a beat, staring down at the booty, then reaches down to the towel and lets it drop to the floor. Like a swan, he dives. He rolls, luxuriating in the feel of gold against his flesh, laughter bubbling from his lips, gold coins sticking to his flushed, sweating flesh, then slough off, leaving their imprint. Strack makes swimming motions with his arms, laving himself with the gold coins. A knock at the door. Strack freezes.
Huh?
Julie Hastings to see you, Mr. Strack.
His eyes dart nervously to the door.
Very well.
He stands. A coin or two falls from his dimpled ass as he reaches down for his pants. Interior Strack's luxurious study day. Strack enters, tying his tie.
Really? How sweet of you to come before our appointed hour. Expected you in something a little more formal. Didn't Ruth inform you that we might have tickets to Der Fledermaus tonight?
I can't go, Lewis. We have to talk.
Excellent. I love to talk. Brandy?
Thank you. No.
I'll have one.
As he walks to a bar and pours himself a drink.
Fair warning. It's Napoleon, and it's quite good.
Lewis, I can't see you anymore.
Darling, settle down. Don't be rash. As you say, let's talk.
You know about Peyton, the man I was seeing?
Of course.
Lewis, he's alive. He's back. He was burned. Horribly burned. I don't understand what happened, but I know he needs my help.
Strack is visibly taken aback. He sets the brandy down.
Your news has a bittersweet flavor. Of course, I'm very happy for you, but if there's anything I can do, the finest medical care can be at your disposal. Burn therapy, reconstructive surgery. How badly was he mutilated?
Julie is broken down. She sits down on Strack's sofa, her body racked with sobs.
Where is he, Julie?
He's living in an abandoned warehouse. He's alone. He needs me.
The phone rings. Strack crosses to the desk and picks it up.
Not now! Who? All right, I'll take it in the other room.
He looks up at Julie.
I won't be but a moment.
He walks into an adjoining room and he picks up the phone.
Yes, Franz. And the closing price?
Julie reaches for a tissue. Next to it is Strack's briefcase sitting atop the desk. Julie wipes a tear from her eye and she moves closer.
I feel sufficiently diversified, Franz. It is immaterial to me what the market is doing. I want you to buy.
Julie's POV, a sheet of paper sticks out from the mouth of the briefcase. Close on the papers, a dark coffee stain. Back to Julie as she pulls the papers from the briefcase.
Yes, you did hear me correctly. I want you to buy 10,000 Krugerruns, fresh ones.
Close on the papers. Memo from the desk of Louis Strack Sr. to Claude Belisarius.
Yes, the Belisarius memo.
Julie whirls back to face him. He stands looking down over her shoulder.
Sorry you had to find that, dear. Our relationship didn't need further strain.
I heard it wasn't an accident. It was you.
Not me personally. I have an employee who does certain things for me. Unofficially. Off the books. Robert doesn't like to pay taxes.
Now you kill me.
Strack spreads his arms.
Hardly. You have nothing on me, my dear, and you'd find the extremely expensive police department quite unsympathetic. Julie, consider the big picture. I suppose this is goodbye then?
Julie stares hatefully at him for a beat, then scurries out the door. Oh yeah, there's a page skip there, but you know, she tells him to fuck off, I guess. Strack moves quickly for the briefcase. He taps his fingers idly on the coffee-stained document. Then he hits a button on the desktop intercom.
Send Robert in.
Strack strolls over the window and stares out at his rising city. Off-screen, the door clicks open. Durant enters the room.
Robert, I have good news and bad.
Custom dictates that you render the bad news first.
You recall the little difficulty with my father and how you resolved that? We have a similar situation with Miss Hastings. It seems Miss Hastings has uncovered some unflattering information about us.
No problem at all. And the good news?
Your wife died! I'm joking, of course. No, the good news is that I know who's behind our little troubles of late. When you retrieved my memo, you failed to exercise the good doctor.
Westlake. He's dead. Oh, yeah, Westlake. He's dead. I saw to it myself.
He's alive, and I don't like loose ends, Robert. Finish it.
Okay, where is he?
Strack smiles.
I believe we have a guide.
Exterior warehouse day. A cab stops across the street from the warehouse as Julie emerges. Tracking with Julie as she crosses the street. It's silent, desolate. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a midnight blue Continental races towards her, about to run her over. But it screeches to a stop, only inches from her. Julie turns to run, but another Lincoln Continental screeches to a halt behind her, sandwiching her in. She tries to make a break for the warehouse.
Peyton!
Guzman runs out of one Continental, Smiley out of another. Interior warehouse. Darkman rushes to a window just in time to see Julie hustled into one of the Continentals. The car roars off.
Julie!
He races towards the door. Machine gun fire shatters the 3 windows and doors of the warehouse. Darkman climbs a steel rung ladder and heads for the roof. Exterior warehouse roof. The bandaged Darkman climbs up onto the roof from the service ladder. The roof is riddled by bullets. A helicopter suddenly rises into frame. Over the edge of the roof, leaning from the copter, is Corky. He fires a machine gun, pounding the roof with bullets. Interior helicopter hovering over the roof of the warehouse. Durant, Skip, and Corky inside.
Peg him.
Exterior roof. Darkman rushes down the service ladder and climbs quickly down into the warehouse. Interior warehouse. A door is kicked open. As Smiley and Guzman enter, guns blazing, shooting the lab to hell. The gunfire stops and the lab is quiet. Guzman speaks quietly into a walkie-talkie.
We're in.
He just went down from the roof.
Guzman glances above the darkened rafters in the warehouse, then signals for Smiley to advance one way. He'll go the other. They split up. Guzman's POV. The place is eerily still. We only hear an occasional computer beep. Guzman starts.
Holy San Juan de fucking Capistrano.
A dozen human faces hang on parallel clothing lines. Durant, Pauly, Skip, and Smiley. In the shadows, their eyeless heads are wrinkled and grotesquely lifelike. Guzman moves through the gallery of faces. A breeze through the open window makes the clothesline squeak as the faces bob and nod to him. He stops suddenly. His body shudders at the sight of a face, his own, hanging on a hook. Guzman panics, backs onto a rack of clothing, knocking it over. He races past the wigs, the faces, running for his life, but 2 skeletal hands emerge from the darkness and latch around his throat. Guzman is yanked backwards into the blackness without so much as a peep. Smiley moves through the dimly lit lab area, gun out, checking every crevice. Footsteps coming closer through the darkness.
Come in. Smiley, come in. Come.
Click. Smiley turns off the walkie-talkie. Footsteps are almost atop him. He takes aim. A second Smiley comes racing out of the darkness at him. Smiley is hip to Darkman's game. He smiles. His gun belches flame at the masked figure. Blam, 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 and the masked Smiley crumples to the floor. The bottom portion of Smiley's mask is wrinkled, exposing a portion of face beneath. Smiley peels back the face with the barrel of his gun, revealing Guzman. Smiley loses his smile. A third Smiley stands slowly into frame behind the spooked Smiley.
Good shooting.
Smiley looks from the dead Smiley to his triplicate and shrieks, but it's mercifully cut short as the Darkman is upon him. Interior helicopter. Durant yells into his walkie-talkie with an interesting urgency.
Guzman, come in. Smiley, Guzman, what the fuck is going on down there?
A burst of static, then.
I am.
Durant drops the walkie-talkie as if it were something hot.
Take her down.
The pilot lowers the throttle stick and the chopper swoops down, a swirl of pebbles as the chopper descends on the roof of the warehouse.
I want that son of a bitch eliminated. And I don't want his fingers. I want his fucking head.
Skip and Corky run into the roof, assault rifles in hand. Interior warehouse. Skip and Corky burst inside, freezing into combat crouches. They advance slowly across the room, not a sound in the darkness except their footsteps and the occasional beep of a computer. The air is tense with danger. Suddenly, crash, crash, crash. Skip and Corky whirl around as iron shutters slam down over the windows and doors, sealing the lab into an airtight prison. Open gas valves hiss, filling the room with an explosive mix of oxygen and acetylene. Interior helicopter, static on the walkie-talkie. Then,
You're next.
Where are you?
Pilot and Durant look towards the entrance of the warehouse. The door is closed. Suddenly, whump. A bandaged hand slams into Durant's chest to grab him and start hauling him towards the door. Darkman is dragging him out towards the roof. The fuck is that? Durant mashes the Darkman's arm with the door.
Take her up.
Helicopter starts rising. Darkman is yanked from his feet. The helicopter climbs, lifting Darkman clear off the roof. Interior warehouse. Skip and Corky stand frozen. Small sound. They turn. The plastic bird. It bobs up and down, the same toy that destroyed Peyton's lab. Durant's lighter lies on a platform just under the beak of the drinking bird. It bobs closer and closer to the switch of the lighter, about to make contact. Skip dives for it, snatching it. The hand clenches empty air. The bird is a transparent hologram. Skip turns in horror. His POV, nearby is the real bird, bobbing in sync with the hologram. The real bird's beak dips closer to the electric lighter's ignition button, closer and closer. Cut to Darkman as he gropes desperately at the floor of the helicopter for a handhold. His fingers barely touch a rope ladder. Durant slides open the steel door and kicks viciously at his face, knocking him overboard. The helicopter rising straight up as Darkman tumbles backwards into free fall, back towards the roof. Darkman, his overcoat flapping as he somersaults down and throws out one arm and catches the last rung of the rope ladder that trails from the copter. It snaps taut as kaboom, the warehouse the roof below him blows. Darkman's arm is almost torn from its socket by the snap of the ladder, but he hangs on tight. Interior helicopter. The force of the explosion rocks the helicopter. The pilot loses control and the helicopter spins wildly in rapid 360s like a speeded up arms of a clock. Darkman is barely holding on to the ladder. Below him, the tiny city is spinning blur of metal and asphalt and glass. The pilot pulls the stick gradually. The helicopter rights himself.
Get it. Shake him.
The helicopter banks sharply through the concrete canyons, a deadly game of crack the whip. Smash! Darkman is hurled through the window of an office on the 70th floor of a skyscraper. The office, Darkman still holding the rope, finds himself on solid ground. A board meeting. The executives stare in shock at Darkman standing on their table. His POV, the faces of the executives whirling in a circle like numbers on a roulette wheel. Suddenly, the faces start to recede. Smash! Darkman is yanked back out the window, breaking the remaining glass. On the street below, pedestrians scurry from the rain of falling glass. Cameras swish up to reveal the helicopter as it roars away from the skyscraper at an intense angle, the pilot having finally managed to regain some control.
Dip him.
The helicopter angles sharply towards a busy freeway. Darkman is dipped into oncoming traffic. He barely clears the roof of a Cadillac by swinging his legs above it. The helicopter swoops lower. Darkman's legs dangle 6 feet above the ground, whizzing over the asphalt at 100 miles per hour. The legs part as they pass over a motorcycle, then close again. The helicopter swoops lower, slamming him into the pavement. He drags for a moment. I don't know why I'm suddenly 1950s. A pack of motorcycles whizzing past his head. Like a marionette, he's jerked back up in front of an oncoming 1973 Delta 88 Oldsmobile. He's grazed by the car's hood, and his body bounces off the windshield. Darkman is lifted straight into the path of the fast-moving truck. The truck honks furiously, and Darkman strains his legs. Tracking over the truck's aluminum roof. Clang, clang, clang. The Darkman's feet run 80 miles an hour along the roof of the truck. Darkman manages to loop the bottom rung of the rope ladder and to a steel hook on the truck's cab. The helicopter looking forward over Durant's and the pilot's shoulders. The pilot has the stick. They are rushing directly towards an overpass.
Up, pull up.
Truck roof. The ladder snaps taut against the hook. The helicopter. They're about to be obliterated. The pilot is yanking on the collective. The chopper whines.
She won't go.
The overpass rushing up. The truck roof. Wind whipping at his coat. Looking up at the doomed helicopter. Darkman bellows in triumph. Wind whipping at his coat. He looks up at the doomed helicopter and that's repeated. That's weird. The overpass taking up the entire screen. Impact. Kaboom. The tunnel. Darkman laughing on the truck races through the darkness. Flaming debris from the helicopter cascading over the mouth of the tunnel. Interior Strack's office night. Strack sits against his power desk, talking into the phone.
Yeah, we've consolidated the waterfront, Governor. Yes, I'm aware there's been some unpleasantness, but that's over now. Yes, I'm sure. You sound a little nervous, Bryant. Have brandy. Watch a cop show.
The door opens. A security officer appears.
Robert Durant, sir.
Send him in. Goodbye, Governor. Everything's taken care of.
He hangs up. We hear the door open and close, and Strack's smile vanishes. Durant enters. He looks awful. Face scorched and bruised. Severe limp.
You look like hell, Robert.
The son of a bitch malfunctioned my helicopter.
In Westlake?
The man's a cockroach. You think him and he pops up someplace else.
Think you kill him? Yeah.
Yeah.
I expect he'll pop up here soon. If Westlake calls, kindly refer to him to Strack Towers. Come on, Robert. Let's kill us the girl.
Cut to interior construction elevator night. Rattling up the steel skeleton of a skyscraper. Stars all around us.
Glad you survived, Robert. I'd hate to see your kids deprived of a role model.
They do look up to me.
The elevator grinds to a halt and the two emerge. The lights of a city tremble over the water. A glitter and breadth of the landscape and urban grandeur.
Kids need an example, Robert. When I was a young man, my father made me work high steel. That's how he started out. And in his view, what was good enough for him was good enough for me.
Strack gestures broadly with one arm.
It was just me and the Indians. No one else crazy enough to run up around here against the wind. 40, 50 an hour. Sure, I resented it, but now, call me crazy. Sometimes I miss it. It sharpens your wits. Life on the edge. 5 inches wide, 250 feet down. High steel.
He turns to face Durant. There's a gun in his hand.
You don't have any kids, Robert.
What are you talking about?
Or should I say, Dr. Westlake?
I'm Durant, Robert G. Durant.
I'm gonna make a mistake.
There's a long beat. The vein begins to pulse on Durant's temple. His eyes grow predatory, evil.
Where's the girl?
Strack hops nimbly out onto a narrow girder. He smiles back over his shoulder.
If you want to see the girl, follow me. I'll take you to her.
Durant Darkman follows, taking the first few tentative steps.
Must say, Dr. Westlake, you've certainly worked up some mischief. Pretty much wiped out the security arm of Strack Industries. That's okay. I'm a good sport.
He leaps from beam to beam, Durant Darkman following cautiously behind.
And I can handle my own problems. I do whatever I have to do. In fact, that's how I got my first property. My wife, late wife, held certain deeds. I sent her on a plane trip over the Smokies, and well, let's just say I landed on my feet. As for my father, well, he was old, and I spared him a few miserable years. Yes, we all have dreams, Dr. Westlake, but we all don't have what it takes to realize those dreams.
All I have are nightmares.
A beat.
And share my dream. After all, you and I are pretty much the same. We should be working together. Both smart fellows, similar styles, same taste in women. And I could use a man like you.
Go to hell.
Eventually.
He proceeds nimbly across the beam.
I guess you just don't have what it takes. I gather you run around wearing other people's faces now, since yours is so loathsome.
He shrugs.
See, I could never do that. The world has to take me as I am. All this tit for tat stuff you've been up to. Silly. Living in the past. I only destroy to build something better. Whereas you, well, here we are.
Julie stands out on the end of a projecting girder at the furthest extremity of a growing building. Wind whips at her hair and dress. She clings pathetically to an upright.
Julie.
Strack laughs.
Bring on the strings, young lovers in peril, separated by ruthless forces larger than they. Oh, what a banal tale. In it, I suppose I play the villain. But wait, Julie, which one of us is the monster here?
With this, he reaches over to Durant and tears his face off, tossing it over the edge. The face spins down, whooshing end over end, the wind flapping it this way and that. On the way down, it slaps against the occasional girder, momentarily flattening out into the recognizable face of Durant, and then peels away again. It spins downward towards a forest of reinforced bars that form a punji pit of steel spikes at the open foundation below. Finally, it lands, splat, pierced through the eye by one of the rusty rebars. Julie gazes at Darkman's ghastly visage for the first time, overcome by horror and revulsion. Darkman's vein pulses like crazy. Strack's tone is almost admiring.
You truly are one ugly son of a bitch.
Blam. Strack shoots Darkman in the shoulder, hurling him off the beam. Darkman tumbles, limbs flailing, bellowing with rage, the world spinning upside down, stairs abyss, stars abyss. Girder. As Darkman's fingertips clamp onto the upper lip of an I-beam, barely hanging on, vein pulsing. On the upper girder, Strack looks down, wind whipping his hair, his POV, nothing. Darkman has been swallowed up by the night. Pocketing his gun, Strack proceeds towards Julie. Julie recoils as Strack stops in front of her. He touches her hair.
First my wife, then my father, now you.
He places his hand on her shoulders, preparing to push her off the girder with intensity.
It is the tragedy of my life that I always have to kill the ones I love.
As he's about to push her,
Lewis!
Strack turns around. Strack Sr. stands behind him, glaring angrily.
Father?
I should have snuffed you out at birth.
With that, Strack Sr. rips off his own face, exposing the enraged visions of Darkman. Strack reaches for his gun. Bam! Darkman mashes his face and the gun flies out of his hand and into the darkness below. Strack and Darkman battle it out on a narrow girder, hundreds of feet of sure death on either side of them. Bam, bam, bam. Savage punches send Strack reeling. Bam! He falls onto the girder. Nearby are a bunch of tools. Strack crawls towards them. A rivet gun only a few inches from his grasp. Darkman swoops in onto Strack, pummeling him. Strack's hand inching painfully towards the rivet gun. Darkman pummeling down, lost in the act of his final revenge. He steps back to give a final blow and slips on some loose rivets, flailing for balance. Strack lunges, clang. Darkman slams into a vertical bar. Zoom, zoom. The rivet gun shoots a bolt through Darkman's wrist, then the other wrist, pinning him to the I-beam. Strack takes a step backwards, exhausted.
Now you get to watch your girlfriend die.
He moves towards a terrified Julie. Darkman shrieks, and reality melts around him as he tastes the hot soup of rage. Crack. Gigantic fissures appear on all the girders. We spin into Darkman's eyes to find the ultimate rage montage. Nightmarish flashes of laughing faces jeering from camera. Julie and Strack kissing naked. Strack's face bobs, attached now to the body of a dunking bird, his face nearing the igniting of a huge lighter. As the contact is made, the lighter explodes into a shower of gold Krugerrands. The gold coins fall away to reveal Peyton's unscathed head bobbing on a freakish and deformed doll's body. Atop a circus platform, he does an angry little jig. He wears a funny little hat. Peyton's face liquefies and flows off his head to reveal the face of Darkman. A drop of liquid Peyton falls upon him, a cube of ice. It bursts into flame. The camera races back to Darkman's eye, his vein pulsing madly. Darkman's riveted hand, insensitive to pain, he pulls, every sinew concentrated on the task. A horrible grating sound as the first rivet rips through the steel. One hand is freed, then another. The other is freed. Strack, with his back to him, doesn't have the chance to turn as Darkman pounces. He lifts him into the air. Strack's arms and legs flail impotently. Darkman hurls him up into the air. Strack rises helplessly, flailing his limbs, then begins to fall yards away from the girder. He spins end over end to be impaled on the rebars many floors below, next to Durant's face. Cut to interior construction elevator, humming at the cut. Darkman and Julie are inside. Darkman remains turned to Julie, facing the shadows. Gently, Julie touches his shoulder to draw him towards her.
Peyton, I can help.
No one can help.
I don't care how you look, Peyton. I love you. The burns don't matter.
There's a long pause. Then Darkman turns the twisted remains of his face towards her. Julie sees them in close-up. Clamp. The elevator jars to a halt on street level.
Take my hand.
Julie stares at the charred skeletal fingers. She overcomes her revulsion and puts her hand in his.
Disgusts you.
No.
Darkman stares at her a long time, anguished, torn. Finally.
His hand. It used to caress you. Now it can only tear, rip away at things.
But you'll perfect the skin. You'll get rid of the scars.
It's not just the scars. I've changed.
He grips his skull.
Inside.
He pulls the elevator open.
I can live with it now, but I don't think anyone else can.
I want it back. The two of us the way it was.
Darkman's voice breaks.
But we had our life together. It belonged in the light of day.
He disappears into the darkness.
Peyton!
Darkman's voice floats as he stalks away.
Peyton is gone.
He heads into the shadows. At the edge of the darkness, he pulls a mask from his coat and disappears behind a construction trailer. A pedestrian reappears on the other side. Julie knows it's Darkman. She chases after him, but he slips into pedestrian traffic. The camera hurries down a street with Julie as she desperately searches for him, turning people around, staring at their faces. It begins to snow.
Peyton.
She rushes from pedestrian to pedestrian, staring into the alien faces in search of the man she loves. As we roll end credits, the camera pulls back into the crowd of pedestrians. Any one of them could be Darkman. We continue to pull back down avenues and side streets, byways, courtyards, wherever the crowd spills, into an alley. As a street person shuffles into view, a muscular hand snaps open a switchblade. A second set of arms grab the street person and spins him around, revealing the charred skull of Darkman, wild, half-mad eyes gleaming wickedly from bony sockets. Mandibles yanked back, and through a lipless smile, he rasps.
Run for your life.
Cut to black. And that is the slightly different, but mostly the same Darkman. Thank you so much for joining us on this one. And, well, we will see you at the next one.